on your end, Alec. Just let Alec handle it.
Why is it right click?
Because that mouse is broken.
The mouse is broken. This is terrible. Okay, guys. Welcome to Paranormal Roundtable. I'm your host, Josh Turner, and bear with me because I don't have a chat box. Anyways, I can't even look. I can't look at the screen. It's making me dizzy. All right. Can you guys hear me? You can hear me better? We have a new system that we've been working on, and we just got it put in place today. We supposed to have the finishing touches put on it, and I don't think it's working. Growing pains, folks. We have a new system that we've been working on, and we just got it put in place today. We supposed to have the finishing touches put on it. So here's what's going on. Josh Turner at PRTpodcast.com. Josh Turner at PRTpodcast.com. We're not going to waste a bunch of time with a bunch of stuff, whatever. I got to get going on this subject because it is a hot button topic, obviously. A big old thing broke out, two different groups. And what I'm looking at is this weird comments, people going back and forth, and they were arguing in this one group, and then it kind of got squished, and it looked like the admins took care of it, whatever. Well, then it popped back up on another group, and so we're gonna discuss that topic tonight. We're going to get into some stuff, and it may make some people uncomfortable, it may make some people angry, and it may make some people happy. I don't know what your stance or wherever you're coming from with this. You may feel slighted, but if you do, it's on you. I really don't care. That's you. It's your disposition. Sorry that you feel bad or whatever. That maybe people aren't agreeing with your assessment on what these things are that we're dealing with here. Obviously, the title of the episode is Dogman and Werewolves, and that's what we're going to be discussing. I think I feel kind of like we've been here before, but people don't listen, so we're just going to do it again. But we're going to go more in depth, and maybe we're just going to keep digging deep until you feel it in like a pain in your tooth. Maybe that's what it takes, people to freaking, But I did invite many people from that particular group. Now, if you want to follow along with what I'm going to be talking about here, it's very simple. There's a Facebook group. It's called Dogman Werewolf Sightings. Okay? And the admin's pretty cool guy. His name's Mark Bridges. And it looks like he just runs it all by himself. This group has grown. Like, it's a big group. He's got 17,000 members. So you can go maybe try to join the group or whatever. It's a very large Dogman group. I'm in 100 Bigfoot groups, 50 Dogman groups. I don't know how many Dogman groups. 50 UFO groups, 100 ghost groups. I don't know how many there are. I don't know. I'm just throwing numbers out there that sound like a lot, okay? I'm in 470 something groups. I don't know. There's a bunch, all right? But this person, they touched off a firestorm by saying, and the person's last name is Lay Evil. So I don't know if this is a real person or they're just whatever. I don't want to offend this person, but they made a comment that touched off 169 comments. And 204 people apparently looked at this. So, it says, Dogmen aren't wolves, and they most certainly are not humans who change into them. They are cryptid creatured beings of their own species. I'm hazard guessing that they were trying to say they are cryptid creature beings instead of creatured beings. Of their own species. Now, part of that statement is kind of vague in the way that it just kind of like says Okay, there are. I don't know. You want to help me out here, Tony? You read it. What do you think?
I just think it's some closed-minded people talking nonsense. It's a post that I think they knew was gonna gain some traction because it's one of those things that they understand is heavily debated for some reason in this community, and it's unfortunate that they want to keep bringing it up and causing more turmoil. And it's one of those things where it's like it's a question that can't be answered, and they keep asking it, looking for an answer. There's not
one answer.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, well, it can't be answered right now. So it's like you're sounding insane by asking the same questions, or especially when you're portraying your question as a statement, because that's what everything about the paranormal should be, is a question, because you don't have definite proof. So that's just a plain and simple fact. And based on what I read from that comment or that statement that they put, it seems like they were trying to make it seem like it's a plain and proven fact, and it's not. So it just shows a lack of, like I said, open-mindedness, but also willingness to,
or understanding of it.
I was gonna say willingness to understand it or figure out what's really going on. It's like you just don't care about the truth, and you care more about being right.
Well, that's what broke down.
Mm-hmm.
It just seemed like it kind of broke down to that. So here's what I saw here. Now, after that, if you go to the post and you manage, if you're a member of that group, they have 17,000 people. I imagine some people here are probably members of the group. There's some people here that are members of all the Dogman groups. So what I suggest is maybe going and joining. It's free to join if you're on Facebook, and then you can debate all you want. But it's the top comments. Apparently mine was a top comment, because when you just go to it, it just goes to top comments, and mine pops up. And now here's my initial reaction. And then we're going to get into some other comments, and then I'm going to tell some stories. I'm going to give you some insight, and we're going to go down the rabbit hole. This is not something that I was planning on doing this Tuesday. I canceled out what I had planned this Tuesday and started looking for alternative guests to do something this Tuesday and push the other one back. And I'll tell you why, because I said that I would. And I said that on the thread, and I had talked to Paul Sinclair. Paul would have been a great guy to get on here. He just came off Coast to Coast. And I thought he'd be a great person to get on here. And we talked back and forth. Now Paul's probably in bed because it's 6 hours ahead of us, and he's an early riser. So if you do the math, it's 8.
It's like 7 in the morning. Yeah, 8.
No, it's not 7 in the morning. It's like 3 in the morning over there. It's 8:25. So do the math. Yeah. It's like 2:30 over there.
It's beyond bedtime. So
yeah. So he's in bed. Obviously, he was going to go to the Cliffs, which hopefully him and his buddy that went to the Cliffs are okay. But, he went out to go do some research or whatever. And so hopefully, and he lives in England, but I was going to have him come on, and then we couldn't get it coordinated. It was short notice. And I'm drinking crazy water. The Native Americans say if you drink crazy water, it'll make you go crazy. I say this. Now, here's a quote. I'm gonna give you a quote. Jimmy Johnson is one of my favorite coaches of all time. Besides his connection to the Cowboys and taking them to the Super Bowl a couple times, and of course I love Jimmy Johnson, but he's a great motivator. He's a great. He has a lot of insight. He knows how to motivate people. And one of the things he says is if you want someone to stay where they're at, then you treat them the way that they are. You don't treat them the way that they can be. But if you want them to change and to become more, then you treat them the way that they should and could be. You treat a man the way he is, he stays the way he is. But when you treat them the way that they can be, then that helps them become what they can be. Now, The reason that that's pertinent to this conversation is because if we continue to talk about this and look at this subject from the perspective of, anybody who comments on it, you leave them where they're at. You don't try to educate them or influence them or teach them anything, then they're going to stay where they're at. You can't depend on them to go and educate themselves and to learn more about this subject and to be more insightful because you're not helping in the situation. So I would be amiss if remiss, how do you say it, remiss, whatever. If I were to sit here and not try to tell you and not try to help you along in your education of what this is. Now, some people think they have all the answers and they're like, we don't need no education, no dark sarcasm in the classroom. That's Pink Floyd, I know. But there are people like that. Now, if you want to send me stories or if you want to contact me outside of all this, then hit me up at joshturner@prtpodcast.com and we can talk, okay? Or you can send me a message through Messenger like a lot of people do because you're friends with me on Facebook. If you want to be friends on Facebook, like I said before, send me a message. Let me know that you are interested in being my friend, that you do listen to the show, okay? The next couple of weeks, I'm going to be super, super busy. I got not only the holiday coming up, Thanksgiving, whatever, but then I got to move. At the end of this month, we're moving into a house. And I have a million things going on. And so I will be working on my book coming up the next couple of weeks. I'm going to be doing a bunch of work on it. I'm trying to get interviews done. We're getting a lot of people interviewed. And if you're one of those people that's being interviewed, please, please, please get back in touch with me and let us know what's going on. Don't just flake. Okay, I can't stand this flakiness. I try to not be a flake in this community, and even when I have super, super duper pressing obligations. Tonight was a very difficult night for me to get up here and get this done. By the grace of God, I was up here by 8 o'clock to get started because I had work obligations that are very pressing right now. I'll be real frank with you guys, work's not going really like I would like it to. So I need your prayers. And thank you for that donation, Hugh. We definitely can use it right now, and I'm not lying. I see your little nickname there. I'm not going to say it online, but thank you for the donation nonetheless. I want to send a shout out to Frank Bribieska. He's a good friend of mine and my wife's. He lives out in Southern California, a little too close to LA for my comfort. But he's a good guy, and I sent him out some merchandise, and he was showing it. He's not on social media, so he wasn't able to, but he got his stuff, and everybody who got your stuff sent out. I think Jordan Cogburn, you're one of the people that didn't get your stuff because I didn't have your size. We didn't do a giveaway last week. We kind of dropped the ball on that because we've been super busy, but we're definitely going to hit it up this week. And what we're going to do is try to pick 2 people from the audience that are here, and we're going to give you some merchandise. We'll send you out some stuff, whatever. So here's what we got. The first comment, okay, wasn't the comment that I'm about to read. It's my comment, but it was the top comments, and it got the most likes and dislikes and whatever. I see Tony didn't even look at it to give me a like on there, and there's something on my microphone here. Alec, you're up here all day. You couldn't clean my mic. What you doing, man?
Dang, Alec.
Trying to make me
really letting down the ball here.
Yeah.
Now I got to clean my mic because now I know you don't clean mics.
You're not a mic cleaner, bro? Okay, so here's what I said in response to this. Now, I'm going to go back and I'm going to read it again. Okay, so you know what we're talking about. This person, their last name, Les Evil, which is, I don't know if that's a real person or not. I'm even going to say their first name because I don't have permission. But it says, Dogman aren't wolves, and they most certainly are not humans who change into them. They are cryptid, creatured beings of their own species. I don't know how serious they were with the comment because they didn't even put punctuation at the end. So I don't know how serious they are. Hold on one second.
Yeah, I was gonna say it seems like they made a cut and dry statement, like I said earlier. It was just like, oh yeah, this is what it is. And it's like, well, how do you know?
Yeah. So they made a comment, and here is my response, and then we're going to get into some other comments, and it goes down the rabbit hole pretty far. I'm going to look at something real quick here. 204 people reacted, 169 comments. It says here, this is what I said. There are shapeshifters whether you like it or not. Whether you choose to believe it or not. It really doesn't matter what we want to believe. People believe in what they want to, but that's not reality. Go and research this subject, going over hundreds of cases, then tell me they are some species of animal. That's what I said. Now, you at home listening, which I need my glasses, I guess. I need to get them.
You get them.
So I can read these because I don't have the chat box going up and down. I'm going to have to use this side one, or I can use it. Well, I can't go back and forth on the internet because it's not. So is the chat box not showing up on the people at home either?
Yeah, it's just on the live chat.
Okay, so people at home or watching cannot see a chat box.
If they have the chat open,
Okay, so they have to open the chat. They can't. It's not on on their screen. Okay, that's not good. Okay, folks, I apologize about that. Like I said, we're trying to get this going here. These are not the ones I wanted to wear, but whatever. This is what I got here.
Where the other ones?
No, it's all right. Don't worry about it. We got it. We're just going to have to use the falling down glasses. So James Estrada already commented. He says, in my opinion, Dogman are supernatural and demonic in origin. James is also a... Bernard Fox says he sees the chat on his phone. Ananaki says, no way, they're just flesh and blood. See, that's the key. That's what we're looking at. So let me take a look at this here, folks. There is something I wanted to read out of that, and I'm trying to make sure that I get back to it. Okay. So right after that, James Ramirez says, people filter out that which doesn't fit into their worldview to avoid cognitive dissonance, basically to avoid an uncomfortable feeling. Okay. Angelo Jeffries, who I've known for a long time. Okay. Even back when I was doing the other guy's show, Angelo was not a fan of his, and he would tell me that very frequently, and turned out he was probably right about some things. But he says, shapeshifter as to from human to wolf. What about the ones the government has put their filthy hands on? We can get into that too. And then Lloyd says here, absolutely agree. My experience was they were a highly evolved being, but possibly demonic, or at least as our Native American say, they exist in two worlds. So Angelo goes back out and says, so y'all think a human can form into a 7 to 9 foot being with different bone structures and live, and to go back to his human form and live? Okay. So I get what he's saying. Then another person who I don't know, so I'm not going to say their name, says, things are more complex than what movies have shown us about shapeshifting. The process takes place on a different plane of existence. The lights that people see in relation with these beings hold the key. Josh is the only scholar, well, I wouldn't call myself a scholar, but he says, who openly accepted that these things are paranormal. Now, I don't know you, but you're more than welcome to send a friend request. I don't know this person. They're from Bucharest, Romania, which is the capital of Romania. And maybe they should know. There's stories of werewolves galore out there. So Angelo says to that person, says, these things are animals. You can touch them or they can touch you. They eat, they feed. Now, I do believe there are some demonic forms of them also, as well as the government test dummies. He says they're the ones killing folks. But yeah, shape-shifting, highly doubt it. Then Kevin Moreland, or Moorfield, who I've known for a long time too, says, to Angelo, he says, it does seem like it would require some advanced healing abilities in order to undergo such a drastic change in body mass and size. There would definitely be a lot of blood, dislocated bones, and torn skin. Now, I said this. I said, guys, our world is not what it seems. Trust me, I know you, Angelo, and Kevin for a long time, and you're smart. If I could show you, I would, but you have to look deeper than just the physical. It doesn't matter what we think. I know it's real. And then Angelo says, salute, brother. I will do just that. Blessings to you and your family. Then Kevin says, I don't want to say they don't exist. I'm one of those that has to see it to believe it. I've seen these creatures before, so I can definitely say they are real, but I've never seen one shift. It says, I can't say what it is or is not among this world unless I see it first. I mean no disrespect. I just have to see it happen first before I can believe in the possibility. Right there. Before I get into before I go any further and I get into a big old long deal, another thing too, it says here we got 270 viewers and it's only showing 220 on the screen, so I know that something's wrong with that.
Yeah, I think that's just a little slow though, because sometimes.
Well, I'd like for it to update. That'd be nice, because it's not updating.
It always lags that middle one.
Yeah, it's been that way for about 20 minutes solid here. It's not. This isn't correct.
Speaking of 267 likes, watchers, we only have 19 likes, so thank everybody for watching, but please go ahead and like the video.
So here we go. Kevin Moorfield, his last comment, he says he had to see it before he believes it. Okay? Oh, this live stream is so bad right now. I am so not happy. Here's what I'm going to tell you, folks. I'm having some issues with the live stream. I don't know what it is. It's always something, but before I get into the next comment, okay, I'm going to say something about this. If we have to go by we only believe what we see, okay, then how is it even possible that you would believe that atoms exist? Have you seen one? And I'm not attacking you, Kevin. You're a good guy. I've known you for a long time, but I'm gonna challenge you on this one, because if everything you only believe in is what you see, okay, then there is a lot of stuff that you're not going to believe. You can't see the wind, but you know it exists, right? There's a lot of things that you can't see, but they absolutely exist.
Santa Claus?
Okay, I'm not being funny even. I'm being serious right now, dude. So what I'm trying to say is, like, there are a lot of things that are out there. And so, for example, if your house was haunted, and maybe you don't believe in the spirit world. I don't know your stance on ghosts or whatever. But I think that people need to get out of this view of these things are just a completely flesh and blood creature that have some sort of evolutionary base to them, because that, to me, is absolute nonsense. There is no fossil record of these creatures, nor is there of Bigfoot. So if you can explain that part to me, that is like, how do you explain that? Because that is the $1 million question here. I mean, I know that there are spirits. They exist. I lived in a house where it was a haunting, and I've been in buildings that I worked at that were haunted. I was on a show on the Travel Channel about a place that was haunted. Look, I can tell you right now that absolutely there are spirits. There are things that exist that you can't see on a day-to-day basis. You're not going to see them. But to say that if a person, that there is no such thing as shape-shifting because you have not seen it. And then it goes further down, and people start saying all kinds of stuff.
I mean, I remember one time you I think it was you had made a really good point, or it was either you or some other really smart person I was listening to speak. You said like that a great white shark is never going to see a polar bear. So like that. So from their perspective, one doesn't exist to the other.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that's objective reality. That just means that's their subjective experience. That's their perception of reality, but that's not reality.
Yeah. And the thing is, I was arguing with a hunter last Christmas, and he was at a friend's get together, and he continued to heckle me about Bigfoot. And when you're talking about Dogman, he was just talking about Bigfoot. I had a shirt or hat or something. Or no, somebody who was with us had something that said, I believe, or whatever, and had Bigfoot on there. And he's like, well, I believe I've been out in the woods bunches of times, and I ain't never seen no Bigfoot. In fact, I done gone out to the woods 5,587,792 times, and ain't never seen no Bigfoot ever. And not no Bigfoot going hoopity whoopity whoop and hollering and a heaping and heapity hoo, nothing.
You could spend your entire life out in the woods and not see anything. It doesn't mean you've traversed millions of acres of open wilderness that are in just this state alone, let alone this entire country, let alone the globe. You know, it doesn't like. So to say like, I've spent my whole life out in the woods and never seen these things. So what? I mean, you've probably spent your whole life out in the woods and never seen a Bengal tiger.
And
So
the thing is,
does that mean it's not real?
you can go out in the woods all you want, but these things live out in the woods. I think you can really go spot it. If it didn't want it to be found, it would be found. It's gonna hide from you, and you're not gonna find it from something that it's his environment. So
Yeah. I don't
Yeah.
know. It's just we have to be really careful taking our own personal experiences and extrapolating them to everyone else, to everyone else's experience, and saying, well, but because this is my perception and this is my experience in my life, it's also applicable to your life, and it's not.
Well, this particular guy who was a hunter, and he's friends with somebody y'all know pretty well. He's Clayton's buddy's friend.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay.
I mean, he's never seen a Bigfoot, right?
Mhm.
But even my cousin said, look, one time I was out in the brush, in South Texas, and I heard something crashing through, and it seemed bipedal, and it sounded weird, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Was it a Bigfoot? I don't know. I mean, he just said it was large and whatever. And of course, this person who I have never had an issue with him before. He once heckled me, I think, before at I think it was the wedding, about ghosts, and stuff. And so he made a comment. So I told him, I said, you obviously don't believe in the spirit world. He goes, heck no, I don't believe in that. You don't believe in ghosts. You don't believe in UFOs. You don't believe in Bigfoot. You don't believe in Dogman. I said, is it okay if I do? I mean, it's weird. It's like, I mean, what other facet in life is this happening? Because I'm like having to ask if it's okay. If I don't have to ask if it's everybody's getting drunk as a skunk and nobody's attacking them. I wasn't, hey, you guys are drinking a lot. That bottle of Sailor Jerry's almost gone. And then you start making fun of them. But yet I was getting made fun of for what I believed in. And what really aggravated me was, nobody's saying anything to anybody else for their bad behavior or anything else. There are people just acting ridiculous. But this guy wanted to focus in on me, and I told him, I said, look, man, I'll call him Steve, okay? Because I don't have permission to use his name, and I don't want to, he basically said something to me that was like almost got his lights punched out. And he said, you have to be a freaking idiot to believe that there is a giant monkey man running around out in the woods. But one thing he did say, after me and him had a little talk when I went around the corner of the barn and I snatched him up and we had a quick words, I said, look, dude, okay, the only way you're going to do anything to me is if you have a gun, which a lot of times you do. I said, so look, I'm going to tell you right now, dude, I'm about ready to challenge you to a freaking bout of fisticuffs over here. Do you want to stop with the name-calling, jokey, laughy behavior? And this wasn't last Christmas, actually. It was a couple Christmases ago because we've kind of come to terms and we've made friends. We've made peace. But I said, dude, I'm not making fun of you or talking to you about how much Garrison Brothers you've drank tonight. So I don't think you have the right to say anything to me about my beliefs or my hat or anything else that I'm wearing. But here's the thing. He apologized. This was, I want to say, this is probably longer than that. It was a couple Christmases ago, Christmas Eve. We always have Christmas Eve at my Uncle Butch's barn. And he wasn't there last year, the year before, so it's been a few years. But he came out and he apologized to me when I saw him one day around town in my hometown, and he said, "Look, man, I'd had a bit to drink, and I was being obnoxious and rude. He's always been kind of brash. He's a little older than me, kind of a guy that was kind of like in high school, like he peaked." Let's say, didn't go beyond that. I say he's a little younger than me, actually. He's not my age. But he did have a point. He'd been out in the woods for 25 years and had never seen a Bigfoot and didn't even have the slightest clue about a Dogman. Although he did tell me he had heard stories of werewolves in and around my hometown. And this was when I ran into him at, you were with me, at, it was a Taylor Cafe. Big guy. Turned around.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we had a talk, okay? And the guy obviously doesn't have his head screwed on because he's a 49er fan too. So that right there tells you that this guy's brain is not completely functioning correctly just right out of the crack of the bat.
He needs help.
He needs some help, yeah. So he turned around and he was talking to me.
Short of a picnic.
And he said, "Look," he said, "I apologize for that." And then he even went a step further and said that he had gotten a story from somebody about a werewolf-type creature out near Burnett. And I told him, I said, "Okay, send it to me." Well, when I went to talk to this individual who he got me in touch with, that person told me that Steve, we'll call him Steve, that's not his real name, because I don't want to talk mean, and then he knows who he is. But anyway, that he had actually seen a Bigfoot-type creature with him in an area near Joppa, which is outside of Burnett. And there's nothing there. It's just like a church and a crossroads. And a guy playing a guitar selling Soul to the Devil. I'm kidding. I'm just Robert Johnson. Mm-hmm. But the point is, so when I went back to this guy, I messaged him. A couple days later, he gets back in touch with me, and I said, "Steve, why did you lie to me?" He said, "I didn't lie to you. I just omitted the fact." I didn't.
Oh, since you put it that way.
Yeah. So now seeing is believing. So now he's thinking, I've seen something that looked like a giant monkey man running around out in the woods. Now I believe it. And I told him, I said, a few years ago, we were ready to box each other's ears off around the side of a barn. And even threatening gunplay. Well, I'll be real honest, it was me threatening. But the point is that, I'm joking. It didn't go that far. We were just drunk. And we were.
You wouldn't need a gun for some yoke.
Yeah, not for him. We joked, okay? And he joked, and it was a joke. And everybody said, "Kind of lighten up, guys. We know Bigfoot's around the corner waiting to snatch you both up, so stop." The point is, though, is that seeing is believing for him. And even after he saw it, he still didn't want to say it. He told me about this guy, Sean, who's a friend. Probably shouldn't say his name, but he saw a werewolf-type creature. And I knew Sean. I already said his name now. It's cat's out of the bag. Hopefully he's cool with it. But I told Steven, I said, "Steve," I said, you threw your friend out there very readily. But he said, "Dude, I go hunting all the time." And one of the things he said to me, and it stuck with me, and I'm tell you right now, folks, he said, "I myself don't want to believe what I saw, because if I believe what I saw, then I can't go back out there and hunt." Mm-hmm. Right?
I mean, if I was in his shoes, I would feel the same way, because you just spend your whole life hunting, and it becomes like not just a hobby, but like a way of life. It's a way of you feeding yourself and your family, and it's actually a very honorable way of getting your meat, because it forces you to have a certain level of respect for where your food comes from.
Okay.
And you have to give that up because you see this thing, this monster that you can't explain. So yeah, I wouldn't want to believe it if I were him either.
Okay, but here's the thing. Like, another scenario here. Let's say you go to the doctor, right? And the doctor tells you, "Hey, you've been playing football for 10 years now, and your brain can't take it anymore. Would you go out and start playing football again?" No, because there's obviously signs of danger. There's something wrong going on.
Oh yeah, no, I'm
So
saying,
it's
but
like you
I would still
shouldn't-
want to.
You still want to, obviously,
Yeah.
but there's an obvious sign of danger. You're not going to suddenly go, well, doctors don't exist now. I don't need to believe in doctors. That doesn't make any
It's
sense.
like you have tuberculosis, sir. I cannot see it, therefore I don't believe it's real.
Yeah, it's like, well, sorry, you're
I
blind,
do not
so
think,
you don't believe in
therefore
anything, I guess.
I do not am.
Yeah.
Well, and another thing too, you guys know this from Jump Street. I was never one of those people that didn't believe that COVID was real. I never was one of those people that said COVID's not real. That's made up. Blah blah blah. Oh, I
wow.
absolutely knew it was real. It was a real thing. I mean, it was killing people. It killed several people that I cared about. It would. Not several, but a handful. But it got a lot of people very sick, and my cousin, actually, who I just mentioned earlier, was very ill. But I never said it wasn't real because you can't see it. You can see the effects of it. But that seems to be the order of the day for a lot of people. And now here's one thing I'm trying to get this mouse to work here.
Thank you, Shotzi and Amy, for the donation.
Yes, thank you so much
The
for that
$50
donation.
donation. Thank
Totally
you so much.
appreciate that. Smokey the Bear over here, if somebody can find him. Because it's not showing up in the main chat, so it's kind of hard, folks.
Yeah. What were you looking for?
Smokey the Bear made a comment that I want to respond to.
Is it the one that I hid?
Yeah, Smokey the Bear says, Josh wants to
Oh, yeah.
attack anyone who doesn't agree with him. Folks, I don't want to attack anyone that doesn't agree with me. This guy was heckling me at a get-together, okay, of about 50, 60 people, and he was sitting there belittling me in front. What part of that does this, where does Smokey Bear not, what part of that do you not understand, Smokey? Okay?
I mean,
You know, the point, but I'm going to address this because a lot of people say silly things like that about me, and that is not true.
yeah.
That is absolutely not true. I can call somebody up right now, and I can tell you right now that this person doesn't agree with me about a lot of things. And I don't attack them. Okay? This guy was making fun of my belief in Bigfoot. We didn't even get into the Dogman thing that night or UFOs or anything like that. This guy, he just wants to attack people who don't agree with him. Okay, well, that's why your comment is gone, okay? Because that's not true. You're speaking in untruthitude, Your Honor. But the fact is that I'm trying to discern here. First, I need to take a break. We got a message from one of our sponsors here. What is this? Shasta Cola. And I got to get this. Let's take a drink of this. This is delicious, refreshing cola. I believe this is probably the most refreshing of all of the colas. Wouldn't you guys agree?
Whoa, is that a cola of Shasta there?
Yes, it is.
You better hand me a can right now.
Why? I have another one.
There's nothing I love on God's green earth than a can of
A
Shasta
nice, refreshing
cola.
Shasta Cola. Here you go, my friend. Enjoy that. With
Even the sound it makes when it opens sounds different.
because you know that the refreshing, you know that the refreshment is coming once you drink this. Boy, it's great. And let me call a friend of mine who I don't always agree with the one I was going to say. Let me see if I can get this one going here. Hold on.
There's a guy in the chat who's pretty aptly named. He's named himself Jeb Bush, which is fitting because what he said is about that damn stupid. He says, "Well, I was there too at the conference, and I saw you hiking. I saw you hiking places. I was there at the conference, and you were hiking the places, John Turner. Then why do that?"
Hiking the prices.
Yeah, so if you were there, you would realize that we gave away like thousands of dollars worth of merchandise
Yeah, we gave
for
away
free
about
at the end of it.
$3,000.
So yeah, I'm gonna hide you. Obviously.
That's got to
But
be
you
one
know,
of them.
I will applaud you for being well aware enough of that your brain functions at that low of a level that you're actually that you name yourself Jeb Bush. So bravo on that. You got that right. You got something right.
Maybe though, honestly, maybe that person is joking. You think they're joking around?
I don't know.
They might have been joking.
Well, they didn't clarify.
Yeah, they didn't clarify it. So let me make.
Look,
this.
if you're joking, you can make a new account and come back. And if you're a troll, you're gonna do it anyway because you ain't got nothing better
I
to
gotta
do.
make
So
this call on Facebook.
it's not like you
here.
gotta go
How do
make
I
money
this?
or lift weights or be a man.
This is not working. I gotta figure out how to do this. Yeah, I just got to make the call. Oh, it's right there. It's right there. I just gotta make the call there. And we're gonna get into some other stuff too, folks. Whoa, what's going on with the sound here? Is that just my microphone? It's
No, there's a bit of an echo.
Why is that?
No, you'll just hear your own voice, I guess.
Okay, let's hope this works.
Yeah.
Is it that quiet?
Yeah, we can turn that up on the mixer. I got it.
Can barely hear it.
We gotta wait for them to answer too, because usually when they answer, the volume changes.
Now that we're done with that commercial, can I pour out this
Hey,
Shasta?
Ken.
Hello.
Hey, hold on one second. We're trying to see if the audience
All right.
can hear you.
I'll turn them up. Just
Okay.
go ahead.
So, Ken, I was just sitting here enjoying a delicious can of Shasta Cola.
Ah,
Yes.
all right. Awesome. My
Yeah.
favorite.
Your favorite, right? And so it was the official cola of the Dogman conference, despite
Yes.
the protests of one of our colleagues. I believe that Shasta is probably the best and most refreshing of the colas. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. Let me tell you something, Josh. Shasta certainly gets a bad rap, but we're talking about a company that's been in business for 133 years. Did you know that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Founded in they're one of the oldest soda companies. They feature 32 delicious, refreshing flavors, including Dr. Shasta, Mountain Rush, Tiki refreshing something. But yeah, it's a delicious, refreshing, fruity, and moreover, the name Shasta is actually a tribute to the Shasta tribe of Northern California.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure it's the only soda brand named after an indigenous tribe. So
Yes, which is also
I'm all in on Shasta.
me too, in the inclusivity, and it goes up against the major companies that don't hold a candle to the refreshing taste of the Shasta.
Oh, I agree. I think Shasta is totally underrated, gets the short end of the stick. And I mean, let's be honest. It's as good as Coca-Cola, if not better.
And
In this
it really-
economy, it's the best.
it's the best.
It really is.
For more bang for your buck.
I'm sure
Shasta
Barton
Cola.
only will agree too.
Barton Nunley would probably even have to agree with us on this. But yeah, Shasta Cola, folks. So how are things going on your end, Ken? How are things? How have you been?
Oh, I'm doing well. Thanks for asking, brother. Just, glad that the year is wrapped up as far as events and public appearances. I was doing a lot of those this year, and now I'm just doing some research, a little bit of writing, kind of chilling here in San Antonio, Texas. How are things with you, my friend?
They're good. They're great. A lot better now.
They're better. They're better with that Shasta Cola in your hand,
They
aren't
sure
they?
are. I tell you right now, it's made this party jumping. So, so I can tell you, there's some people that would protest this, but I, for one, have never drank a more refreshing drink. So, when you're working at the zoo, do they allow you to drink Shastas when you're there at the Chupacabra exhibit?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, I will frequently indulge in a delicious, refreshing Shasta when I'm at the San Antonio Zoo.
Well, I heard that
Working there.
the Shastas is so amazing that they often give it to the animals as well as a little treat.
I don't know. I'm not
It's good for them.
authorized to be a
got
spokesperson
electrolytes.
in terms of what the dietary requirements of the different animals at the zoo are. I can tell you we have a top level nutrition center, and all of that is scientifically formulated and stuff. I don't know if Shasta is included in that, but
I'm pretty sure I saw Petrie the Pelican drinking a delicious Shasta the other day when I was there hanging out with you, Ken. Well, hey, I'll let you go, man. I just wanted to make sure that we had and just so people know, because a guy made a comment about me, much like someone made a comment about you at a conference a while back, saying that I don't, I attack people who don't agree with me. Me and you don't agree on Bigfoot 100%, but do I attack you?
no, you've never attacked me.
No, I've never come at you with a claw
We've
hammer.
had some spirited we've had some spirited discussions, and they're always very civil. And we have a lot of fun talking about this stuff.
And mainly because I think we bonded over our delicious Shasta Colas that we find so fun. And when we were coming back from the conference, we drank these to stay awake, and I would say that they probably saved our lives.
Yeah, after a good spirited civil debate on the Bigfoot, it's always good to wash it down with the ice cold Shasta with your eyes closed when you drink it and with the label sticking out.
And the expression of
Yeah.
That's right, Rethink. Shasta Cola.
Yeah, no,
If Dogman don't
I
kill
enjoy.
you, Shasta will.
I enjoy busting open a kiwi strawberry Shasta Cola after Josh and I have had a spirited Dogman Bigfoot discussion. But that's just
Exactly.
me.
Yeah, I enjoy all of the flavors. And like you said, 133 years of being in business doesn't lie. So thank you, folks. And Ken, thank you for dropping in. And
Anytime, man.
I'm going to let you go.
All right, guys. Have a great
Okay. I'll
Look at
see you.
Barton's comment.
show.
in all
Thanks for
caps.
including me.
So someone
All
wake
right,
me
I'll
from
see
this
you.
nightmare, please. I can hear
All
it in
right,
his
talk
voice
soon.
right now.
Bye.
Someone wake me from this nightmare, please, brother.
Oh, boy.
Uh,
Oh, man. Something's bouncing on there.
I think it's just that end call.
Yeah, there we go. So, folks, Shasta Cola. It's wonderful. We're all drinking it. We're all enjoying it. because
look at Rock.
they're like, hey,
Good Starscream's comment.
there were so many memes and so much stuff that was made about it. They're like, hey, endorse, whatever. Hey, I'm not saying that I'll just sell myself for a product, but I'll sell myself for a product. All right, it's just gonna let you know. But if I had never seen Shasta Cola and only heard about it, I would not believe that it existed. Wow, it's delicious. And I can't speak for Barton 100%, but I do believe that Barton will endorse this product.
Yeah, Starscream said, I just Shasta'd all over the place. I'm sure Barton Shasta's all over the place on a regular basis, too. I mean, how could you not?
How could you not? With
Exactly.
34 different
All
flavors.
right, so here we go. Peachy the Pelican, don't lie. I mean, he's so here we go. Here's what I got to say. The Kevin Moorfield, and Kevin, you're a friend of mine. I'm not bashing on you, brother. You're allowed to have your opinion. So Tobias Francic, he's from Sweden. He commented, I've known Tobias for a long time too. These are people that have been fans, friends, whatever you want to call them, since the Dogman encounter days. Okay. He says, Josh Turner, real true dogmen are not shapeshifters. They are a species with different races, but they are evil beings who manifest themselves as dogmen. And as you've stated, no dogman, regardless, are animals as we categorize animals. They are either creatures with abilities beyond earthly laws or evil demonic beings in its form or shapeshifters. So, to understand what he's saying that there are dogmen, right? But that there are evil beings who manifest themselves as dogmen, right? Mm-hmm. That's where we're going to go right now.
That's an interesting.
So I got a treat for you.
Oh, you saw one of those.
Here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about this. We're going to go down these comments, and we're going to go down the road here, and I'm going to tell you a story. Okay? The first story I'm going to tell you is my own encounter when I was in the episode called The Haunted Tower. Can one of you guys, one of you three guys there, look it up, The Haunted Tower. Tell me which episode that is. Now, if you go to The Haunted Tower, that is my experience as an 18-year-old working in a building downtown.
That was the tower.
That was a tower, and Anthony named it. It's aptly named.
Episode 121 and 122.
And now I encountered a being that I believe was a demonic entity that was posing as what I saw, only smaller. My first reaction was like absolute horror, terror, whatever you want to call it. But that thing was not Legit. That was not what I saw when I was 15 years old with my friend. What I saw was bigger, wasn't wearing clothes. People would say it's a Dogman. But now, Anthony, you being from my hometown and you being in on many of the investigations and stories that we've gotten from people, and you know some of the people who've told these stories, how many have we gotten of stories like that are so different from one another, okay? Like, for example, the lady that saw the thing looked like a man. Mm-hmm. It looked like a man. Okay? Yeah, but it looked like a man. It was underneath a railroad car, right? Mm-hmm. Right outside Taylor Cafe, right?
Yeah.
She said it looked like a drunk, like a drunken wino, which there were a lot of them back then, and it was called the Line, and it was a very bad area. It's kind of cleaned up now, but it still looks very industrial and kind of rugged. But you're not as likely to get shot or stabbed as you were at one time. But this guy was sleeping under a defunct railroad car. She comes outside of the Taylor Cafe, which is just such a little dive, is all it is, with barbecue. Okay, that's all it is. And so she comes out. She sees a werewolf-looking creature where the guy was. Now, this werewolf-looking creature was still sleeping in the same position as the guy. It didn't eat the guy because it was wearing torn clothing that the guy was wearing. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So is that shape-shifting? We didn't see the shape shift. Okay? But we know that it existed because just using common sense and powers of deduction, you're going to say, hey, that right there is a shift, right?
Yeah, I mean, that you would think. But it just depends on what they mean shape-shifting. Like, do they mean the actual form of, like, when they hear the bones popping? Or is it more in the spiritual sense of, like, a creature who's looking like another creature who suddenly changes its form once again?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, those are, I think, also two different things. Those are two very distinct, different entities entirely. And I think those are two that they don't really correlate with each other, even though they share a similar, transforming back to our two creatures switching forms, basically.
Matt Sinaga, thank you for that donation. He says, in support of PRT and the Knights of the PRT Roundtable, like number 130. Yeah, so here's what we got. We have that would be, let's count that, okay? That would be considered a shapeshifter story, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then the one I saw in the Haunted Tower, which I don't think that was a Dogman. I think it was a demonic entity pretending to be at one. So that would fit in the category of what Tobias is saying, that these creatures have abilities beyond earthly laws or evil demonic beings in its form or shapeshifters. Real true dogmen are not shapeshifters. But here's the question. That is the question, right? Like, what is a dogman? What is a dogman, and why do we not have pictures of these things? And why do we not have pictures of Bigfoot or Mothman? You got Foot Big and Moth Guy. I mean, come on. I'm serious. Where is the photographic that you can sit there and look at this and go, look, this is a photo. There he is right there. He's buying a delicious Shasta Cola. You cannot. There is not. Never has been, and I'm not going to say never will be, but we don't have any sort of photographic evidence.
And the problem with that comment is that if you believe in the supernatural ones, then it's hard to say that the ones you're seeing aren't the supernatural ones. The ones that you believed are the actual just regular creature, the physical ones. How do you know those are even real? How do you know, like, if those even exist at all? Because it could just be these other ones that are disguising it as these creatures, and now everyone is seeing that and thinking, oh, now there's two different ones when there's really just one, and then their other form which they kind of play around with.
Mm-hmm.
And you're following their trap or whatever.
And here, just so you're not blindsided or surprised, in my, when I typed to my retort, whatever, I said, Tobias, Man, you a stupid. I'm just kidding. I didn't say that. No. I said Dogman, as we know, exists, but what it is exactly is a highly debated subject. The more I look into it, the more questions I have. I think there may be a type that exists that way all the time, and they may be being manipulated by some people or something else to be something different. And I'll clarify that in a second here. I said I do, however, 100% believe that shapeshifting is also real. 10 years ago, I would never have believed in that being possible. But knowing what I know now, it's not only possible, it's extremely probable that a lot of sightings are truly werewolves. I came right out and said it, folks. I came right out and said I believe in werewolves.
Well, isn't it true that if you hold like a demon's name, you gain power over it? Or isn't there like some kind of...
I wouldn't pick on that.
Obviously it's been said before, but I mean, obviously if you're trying to make sure that you don't get caught, you would hide yourself or disguise yourself or change into something else and make it take the blame.
And Grey Dove, and you guys know who that is. He's
Yeah.
the Ute Native American, my friend Johnny's grandfather. If you talk to him, and he's a medicine man, and he's like 88 years old, but he'll tell you that there are creatures who manifest as whatever they want. They can be any being on this planet, and he even went so far as to say there are things that can shapeshift and manifest as beings that aren't from this planet. And that takes it out there, you know. And if you get scientific, then it gets all weird. I mean, you know, what is it? Carl Sagan, he once said that we should look for not only as life as we know it, but life as we don't understand it.
Yeah.
Because you don't just stop and go, well, we figured it all out. That's, you know, one of my relatives is like that. He thinks he's figured life out at the age of 26.
Yeah, I think science has been is about discovery, not the discovered or what's being discovered.
Yeah, like this saying like the science is on so and so is settled. Science is never settled.
No, science should never be settled.
Now, Ryan, I'm say this. I don't have permission to say his name. I'm just going to say his first name. It's not the Ryan you're probably thinking of. He said something like, "Oh, you're 100% right," whatever that person's comment was, because he's always friendly cheeseburgers for days to be cool kid, whatever. But this is a different Ryan. This last name starts with an R, but he's on the thread if you read it, and it says, "That is correct. It is referred to what's called a skinwalker, and they have learned the ability to astral project their spirit form being a wolf, and they are able to manifest that spirit form into a werewolf. Then that werewolf form is pushed back into their human body, ending result being a living, breathing werewolf. There are also those born with werewolf gene, and as they get older, that animal side gets stronger, and eventually they are able to physically transform into a werewolf." Now, I don't know this guy. I don't know his credentials. I don't know what his reasoning is. It could just be that he's postulating on a theory. And then a person says to me, "Yep, I believe that based on what I said." Another guy on there said something that I thought was very pertinent. They were questioning the original question. Now here goes back to the original question. Dogmen aren't wolves, and they most certainly are not humans that change into them. They are cryptid creature beings of their own species. Now this person, we're going to go to the bottom here, starts with an A, his name. There's like 40 comments on his deal. It just goes on and on. And he asks the very pertinent question to the first person that posted, and he says, based on what exactly? And then this person says, the Rougarou in Louisiana. Now, if you take the Rougarou, isn't that a type of shapeshifter, the legend, the story? Right?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it just sounds like a lot of ignorance when... I don't know this person or whatever, whoever put this comment, but it seems very ignorant when you put a comment like that.
But the thing is, though, it got 170 comments.
A much better comment would have been, "I personally believe blah blah blah," but I'm open to whatever, and you could open that discussion in the comments. But when you just make that comment like that, you're obviously very, I don't know, it just seems very closed-minded and unwilling to really figure out what's going on.
So someone else had made a comment that I agree with, not as like the explanation for what Dogman is, but for like as an explanation. This person named Witchy Cruz said Dogman are Avatar, which I got. We had talked about that before. Like it could be someone like astral projecting. Like it's a physical person, but they're instead of shape shifting, they've like kind of left their body and taken a physical. Like they've manifested physically, but like they've. I don't know how to say it. It's like they've. It's a spiritual being, but that's taken physical form, but it's a person.
Yeah. And Vault just messaged me a private message or whatever, and Vault says he believes that they're both. You know,
I mean,
here's me. People ask me all the time, they're like, "What did you see?" I'm like, "Dude, I don't know what the heck I saw. If I did, I wouldn't be up here debating about it and be like 100%. Was it a dog man? In the sense that it's something that never changes, it's always like that, or is it a werewolf? That something that changes, man, wolf, whatever, because the werewolf has this connotation to it that it's like it becomes like you're okay. For example, Alec is a mild-mannered guy that does the stuff, and one day he just goes whatever and howls at the moon and becomes a creature guy man thing that runs around attacking stuff. That's what the word. It's been, you know. How do you say it? Like sensationalized.
Sensationalized.
Yeah, and it's like a curse. I mean, it's not something. It's sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. It depends on what movie or book you read.
Yeah.
But people look at it as a very fictionalized, very silly thing. But you cannot discount that there are stories, and I know from my friend Linda Godfrey and from Barton Nunley and all the other people who've researched this and studied this and have done a lot more work than you have, unless you're one of those people that's in the chat and you've done your homework. I'm going to tell you right now, dude, there are lots of stories out there of these things shifting. They're not as popular or as common, and a lot of them, I think, got buried because if you talked about that, then you sounded more crazy.
You sounded too Hollywood.
Yes. Now, I was at a juice land. If you don't know what that is, it's a place that sells juice. It's the land of juice. That's what it is. Okay, so I went to the land of juice, and I got a cup of thy drink. Now, this sounds silly. Look, I went in there, and I was waiting for my drink, and it was really busy. It was the one off of, I think it was the one that we go over there by the postal place. And it was really busy. It was a couple months back, and I was sitting there, and there was this guy, and he was talking about drinking pea protein because we're like pea is in like from a pea, like a PEA. Okay, let's make jokes. And he ordered pea protein in his, and I was like, he's a big guy, and I asked him, so in your opinion, do you think that the pea protein is better than the hemp protein and blah blah blah? Because I like to mix it up with the whey and this and that. And he gave me a pretty good rundown. And then we started talking. He saw my PRT shirt, asked me what it was. I handed him a card, and the people that were there, they one of them was already a listener to the show, so it's a pretty cool show. Yeah, check it out. So we started having a conversation. He pointed at the Dogman on my shirt, and he says, "What is that?" And I told him. He says, "My grandmother saw one of those." I said, "Where at?" He says, "Right over there, down this road, down back before McNeil High School was built, right in that area, right in there. It was all woods." And so he said, "I'll get it to you." Couple weeks go by, a guy messages me and says, "Hey man, it's me, T. I'll call him Mr. T. He was a big African American dude and had a mohawk, so we'll call him that." And I started nicknaming him Mr. T, and we started talking. So Mr. T messaged me. He says, "Dude, it wasn't a really fantastical, long, drawn out encounter, but I will say this, and I was saving it for this when I was going to do a show on shapeshifting. What his grandmother saw absolutely had to be a werewolf of some kind. The reason I believe that is because it was running down the road, holding a Shasta Cola and drinking. I'm kidding. I'm joking.
I knew it.
I'm joking. It's not what happened. She was driving along, and she said it was a cool fall evening, whatever, and she was driving along. She's like, she liked to smoke cigarettes. She had the door open, and she just hears really quickly. She's like messing with the radio station, whatever. This was years ago. She was back in the late 80s. She was messing with the radio station, and she hears like all this noise, running alongside the car, and she looks over and she sees this thing looking in her car and kind of reaching in. So she just guns it, right? She's got this Oldsmobile car. She guns it. She looks back in the rearview mirror and she sees this thing's back pop up like this and the head go back. And when it was looking at her in the car, and I'm giving you a really good story. It's not a long one, but it is a good one, okay? Its face looked like it was like a small muzzle with the teeth. Just looked like, like a wolfman type creature, like you would see from like the movie The Wolfman, right? But when she looked back at it in the rearview mirror, and she was with her boyfriend at the time, who's deceased now, but they looked back, and he was like, "What the heck is that?" This thing popped its back up, lifted up its head, and they saw a snout pop up, like in the rearview mirror. They saw this. I mean, it was like the quickly boom, and it was. And then here's the other thing: it was a full moon. And he said, "That's my story. I don't really have any more to go on than that. My grandmother's dying of cancer. This was a few months ago, so I don't know. I actually don't know whether or not she passed or whatever. I've talked to him a couple times since then because he had some ghost stories he gave me, but nothing else like that. But if you take that story, that's this guy, a random guy, and we've had this happen before, Anthony and Tony." Many times we've been talking to people and they have given us stories of Bigfoot, ghosts, UFO, alien abduction, and Dogman just at the grocery store. And folks, I'm not joking. Me and Nick Valenti talked about this one time, and Nick's like, I think they're just lazy. The people who can't get a story. How can you not get stories? I could throw a rock right now and hit somebody who's seen a ghost or a Bigfoot. It's a never-ending supply of stories out there. So unless you just don't have the hustle, I guess, maybe, or you don't have the cojones to go and ask people.
Yeah, you're either not talking to people or you don't know how to talk to people to get them to open up.
At the gym.
Like
Mm-hmm.
Tony?
Easy. Yeah, I mean, people will pretty much see your PRT logo and then be interested in that, or you can just go up to them, and while they're lifting, they'll be, "Oh yeah, of course I had something happen to me. That's why I moved away from over here, or that's why I don't live over here anymore, or I'm still living there for some reason."
The
It's
guy
always
from the
something.
Philippines,
It's always something.
he saw a gargoyle thing.
I mean, even if they don't have anything personally, they know someone.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, and they've heard that story, so they can kind of tidbit it off to you.
Vampires.
And I mean, it's all kinds of even if they don't even know what they've seen. Like
Yeah, they don't usually tell us. Now I'm gonna preface this though, like they don't go, "I saw a vampire," or "I saw a gargoyle." That's not typically how it happens. The personal trainer that talked to me and Tony the other day, she said that she had seen a shadow person, but she goes, the funny thing is, it was wearing a hat.
we're like, oh, we looked at each other. We looked at each other and we're like, "Oh, hat man."
It's a hat man.
I've heard that all the time.
Yeah, that's exactly what that is. What this man's grandmother saw off of McNeil Road, I don't know. I have no idea what that was, but that was all woods at one time. It was an old county country road they were going down. At that time, it was nothing. That was the end of the line there. It was the end of the trail. There was nothing there. And so, I think he said it was 88 or 89. He couldn't be for certain. But when you stop and you look at this thing, its snout popped up. And I was like, she's positive, right? I didn't talk to her because she's sick, but he said absolutely. He went back and double checked. He said, "No, I'm absolutely sure that that's what that was." He's like, "It was a snout that popped up." When you take that into consideration, okay, I can bring you witness after witness after witness of Dogman, and I'm talking just the weirdest stuff that associated with it. In our hometown, we know some people, Anthony, who have seen these, what we call the cadejo, the black dogs. We've even got people who swear up and down that these black dogs are just big black dog-looking things. They look like wolves, will stand up on their hind legs, and they will talk. Yes or no?
Yeah. Those are the Hidalgo dogs in Taylor.
Yeah. So we get these legends and these stories of these creatures that can stand up, and they can even speak Spanish. Now, there's legends and stories that have grown up around these creatures, but you cannot sit here and tell me that they're not werewolves, because they absolutely, they are. what was that creature that ran alongside this guy's grandmother's car? Mr. T's, he's a no nonsense guy. He works out at our gym.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he's a big bad dude. I mean, you know, I wouldn't go up to him and tell him you're a liar. He'd be like, I pity you now. Boom, boom, boom. You know, he looks like somebody who'd beat you up pretty easily, but he's a very nice, soft spoken guy. He's very, very friendly, and he's just like, look, this is my story. Take it or leave it. It's what it is. You know. I'm inclined to believe this guy. He had no reason to lie to me about this. On a conversation that we started out talking about various forms of protein, which I'm a big fan of pea protein, by the way. It does actually work really well for me, but that's me. Look, I don't think that all these people are making this up. I really do not think that. And I got another one. Here's another one. Straight out of Texas, another one straight out.
Hang on, just real quick. I'm gonna address a comment that Starscream left. That's really interesting. I don't know if you saw it.
Starscream's in the chat.
Yeah. Coming off the heels of the story that you just told, he said, actually that would make sense. They're close to the limestone quarry off McNeil. My brothers and I found an underground hiding spot with a wooden door in the lock. Underneath was a hole, like something was locked in. Close to the area, she would have seen that. We pass that quarry all the time.
Well, yeah, now we do.
Yeah.
But back then there was nothing there.
Yeah.
And then you look at Harryman Road. Why is it called Harryman Road? Because there were multiple Bigfoot sightings there. And even in the park in Round Rock, there's footage. If you and I think you might be able to look this up. It's hotly debated amongst us, you know, researchers, whether it's a Dogman or a Bigfoot. It has ape-like qualities the way it moves, but Dogman does that. Right outside of Brenham, I got a story not too long ago, and of course one of our benefactors that we used to work for, she owns a horse ranch out there, and one of her neighbors we talked to not that long ago had said, hey, you know, I saw this Bigfoot type creature. I don't know if it's a Bigfoot. I don't know what it is. It would make sense in between Giddings and Brenham. We've gotten tons of stories. And in that place, Washington on the Brazos, that area where the Texas Declaration of Independence was signed, there are tons of Bigfoot stories out there. But you also get these weird Dogman stories. And then you get this weird Gugwy-looking creature. When I talked to this guy's name was Jason. I'm not going to go any further beyond that. But Jason told us, he was like, dude, when you start to look at these creatures, the really aggressive, violent nature of what these things were doing, there were 3 different creatures going on in the same area. We found one that was a very large, gigantic type of Bigfoot type creature. We found one that was just an absolute dogman. It had to be. It was a very large dogman, but it had a skinny midsection. It was kind of rangy looking, but with the really big shoulders and big legs. Three reports of that. This is all in about a 10-mile radius, whatever. Then we got reports of, this was the weird one, where this guy Jason had said that he had worked on this guy's farm. It was something in between. It was built really big, like a Bigfoot type creature, but it had straight legs, but it had a snout like a canine, like a canid creature. And he said that this thing was walking on 2 legs across the road like this, and it literally had what looked like another animal in its mouth. And I don't want to get into the gruesomeness of it because it might, let's just put it this way. People's animals were disappearing. This thing was walking across the road. It's very much flesh and blood. I mean, it is. It's killing an animal. Here's where it gets even weirder. He sees the same creature. He saw it twice on that same vicinity, on that road. He was driving to Houston, and he said he was headed outside of Brenham, about 2 miles outside of Brenham. Now, I'm sorry, about 10 miles. You guys know, you've been to Houston 1,000 times with me. My mother used to live in Tomball. Okay, when you're going outside of Houston and you get to those, there's a bridge. There's two roads this way, 2 roads that way, and there's a big area that like a median there's this all grass. I don't know if you know that little bridge right there. And I don't know what creek that is. I've never even bothered to memorize it. But there's a giant creek. It's a pretty good-sized creek. You have to have a bridge there. And it's outside of Brenham. It's before you get to Chapel Hill. I know you guys know where that's at. You've been through there, 100 times.
Yeah.
Okay. He looks down and he sees this thing go up over the bridge and begin to run in front of his vehicle. Now, he said this was about 2 a.m. he shines the light. The light goes directly. He sees the eyes. He's like, it's yellow. It takes a good look at him, and then it runs across the road. The back leg was still there, like it was sticking out. He's like, I should have hit it, but I went right through it. And he goes, and it looked transparent. The back left leg.
Yeah.
But this creature, the same guy saw the same creature with an animal running across the road and with an animal in its mouth on the other side of Burnham. Now you tell me, what the heck is that?
Well, here's my question, which is similar to something I've been meaning to ask, but it's funny that this story kind of brought it out. Was that if you believe that there is a physical Dogman and it's a separate creature, and you also believe in the supernatural and the spirits, do you believe in Dogman ghosts? Like, do you believe that the ghosts,
Okay,
do they have souls, and if they die, do they turn into ghosts? Is that a possibility? And another thing I want to mention was Shade Viking here has a really interesting comment. I think some spirits can possess animals maybe and control their bodies or make it change and walk and talk. And maybe that's what that black magic is maybe that's where we get things like not deers, and that's why you can't really find a body, and why these Dogman and Bigfoot are so like it's important to them to reclaim anyone that's died of theirs. And it might be because in the past it used to be like black magic would be like to take over their bodies, and now you have like that's how you control it. Is like that was part of it or whatever. And maybe that's why like now they are real uptight about grabbing bodies and making sure that there's no more evidence that gets left behind. But that's obviously just a theory. I mean, it's hard to. I mean, I obviously don't know how they do it.
Mm-hmm. It's hard to ascertain any of this, but I mean, here's a comment from the deal here. Let me see if I can get it because my mouse is even not acting right today. Everything is trying to mess with us, trying to stop us.
I think it also could have been like just I don't know, like shifting out of our reality or
into its reality.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been either one,
or like into a different vibrational plane at that time. Just and the timing, just like they just happened to be in the right time in the right place to go right through it.
That's right. Fred Martin says, "Come to the Navajo Nation. I'll drop you off at a certain desert area, and see if you stay brave all night."
Do you think they did it on purpose? Do you think like he saw he was about to get hit, and then he decided to phase shift?
That is a very good question, and I didn't even think about that. I mean, actually, not tonight. Right now, tonight, I went over this case before, but this isn't the first time we've heard of this. The lady that we met at Randy's Ice House in Taylor, Anthony, she came on the show, folks. She came on the show and talked about what she saw. They saw a Dogman, and they drove right through a werewolf, whatever, and they drove right through it, right outside of Lexington.
I mean, wouldn't you, if you could change and like negate all physical damage, wouldn't you just abuse that if every time you're about to get hurt, just switch back into that ethereal form? I mean, I would.
And who's to say they don't?
I mean, exactly.
I mean,
maybe if you like the ones that do get injured are the ones you get caught off guard or whatever, and it's just like it has to be something that's very unexpected that they can't change like they do.
What about this? What episode is it? The Beware of Dog episode?
I can look it up.
Because I did one called Beware of Dog, and these people, they had lived in Seattle and they moved to Minnesota, or they lived in Minnesota and moved to Seattle. I can't remember which way it was. It's an old case that I had covered.
Episode 73.
Episode 73 of the show, not the live stream, but of the show, of the hour-long episodes. You got a person giving me a story. Thank you for that donation, Deemery. Love the show. Thank you. We love our listeners. You got a story, okay, of what sounds like, okay, the people talk about the Jinn, that they can shapeshift. These are shapeshifters, and the word Jinn means hidden. These are the hidden ones, right? One of their favorite forms is a black dog. What if this thing was some sort of Jinn, evil Jinn, whatever, and it had they took it into the house. Oh, this is a stray dog, and then it starts doing weird stuff, and then they start seeing it manifesting as a human. In other words, like, where does the line? It's blurred, right? I mean, where does it go? Are we dealing with a wolf dog thing that can become a man? Are we dealing with a man they become? Are these things interdimensional? Are they just shapeshifters that can pretend to be men and pretend to be wolves, and they just want to go around in that form?
Or
is
are
it
they
like
all
JC?
different?
All different. JC Johnson once said that these things, they literally do ceremonies. Okay, and I'm going to bring one of his acolytes on this coming week. I'm going to have her come on the show. I'm going to have her talk about some of the things that he taught her, because I've been in contact with her recently. Where does it go? You know, I mean, like the line gets blurred. You know what I mean? You have the Native Americans who are like, really, like, this is a shapeshifter. This is a skinwalker. You can call it. You can say, oh, they're not skinwalkers because it's not that particular tribe, but you know what it is. It's like saying that this is Coca-Cola, which we know it's not. It's delicious Shasta Cola, but we know that that's not Coca-Cola. But you call it a Coke. Like, you have a guest that comes over and you're like, you trick them. Hey, would you like a Coke? Sure. And you bring them, like, you know,
A regular Coke instead of delicious Shasta?
Yes.
I understand that.
So what you have there is a catch-all term, meaning skinwalker, you know. And, of course, we know that Elijah Henderson said it on the American Werewolves, and he was criticized for it. I could kind of see both sides of it. But at the end of the day, we knew what he was talking about. You know, we know what he meant. You look at this as a shape-shifting skinwalker type creature, whatever. And you could get bunches of people to say, hey, I believe that these are real. The Vikings believed that they were real. You had stories from Russia of these creatures, werebears, you know, in Kamchatka and in the taiga region. The taiga region was loaded with stories of the giant god bear, the god bear. You know, they always talk about the god bear, the bear that was supposedly 20 feet tall. They would eat whole armies, these big god bears, whatever. But then you get stories in Russia, and I got two, one from Kamchatka and one from the taiga, which I researched. It was hard to pull these. I'm not kidding. I had one that was a Laplander, Finnish area, who had said he was hiking, and he had gone into the taiga, and he saw what looked like a bear man thing. Now, we told that one of those stories on the Halloween episode, or it was the Halloween leftovers. I don't know which, the last 2 weeks, whatever. It was some sort of creature, and I believe it was in Wyoming or Montana. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it ate a guy's cow, like just ate it in huge bites. Shooting it doesn't do anything. Then you got this other story. Now you know about this one. It was up in eastern Oregon. I know that you guys know it was east of La Grande, because my friend, your stepdad's mother lives up in La Grande. This guy started giving me the coordinates, and I go, oh, I know where that's at. It's up there near the lake. There's a lake up there. I forgot the name of it. You can look it up on a map. Right outside of that lake, outside of La Grande, this guy really, I mean, he witnessed one of these things come out of the water. He thought it was like a floating rug or something. He didn't know what it was. And when it popped its head up, he said, dude, its head had to have been in the water for like 10 solid minutes. He was fishing. He kept looking over going, what is that? It popped its head up, and it had the muzzle face of a bear, but it had long, rangy arms like a man, but they were furry, and it was grayish and brown. What is that? And then this thing could breathe underwater. When it comes up out of the water and begins to walk toward the lake, 2 days later, two of his friends that were hunting in that area shot at this thing, hit it 3 times. It didn't do anything. It didn't flinch. It didn't move. It just kept doing what it was doing, which was eating an elk, according to them. A dead one that I guess it had pulled out of the water or something. That's the other thing. If this creature is a supernatural being, impervious to bullets, who can float under the water with no air, then why does it need to eat an elk? You know what I'm saying? I mean, seriously. Somebody tried to argue with me the other day about the story that we got about the creature from Montana. They tried to say, well, why would that animal? It's eating a whole cow like that. Why would it eat? How can it? It's just if it's eating a whole cow, then basically it's an animal. What animal can eat a cow in like 10, 12 bites? Besides a Tyrannosaurus Rex, that doesn't exist anymore, hopefully, unless you talk to people down in South Texas, and maybe the smaller versions do. But, I mean, do you see what I'm saying? Like, how can you sit here and even, so when you go into this thread on Facebook and you look at this, it just sounds so crazy. You got all these people who are arguing about this. This person says, we all have the right to our own opinions, and I think you're full of it. Dogman is a glorified word for werewolf. I agree with that one. And then this person says, no, a dogman is entirely different. It cannot change itself, whereas a werewolf can turn in a human form during full moons. A dogman cannot. It remains one all the time.
Do we even know that?
Okay, so we got the story out of McNeil, right? And Starscream confirmed that there is some stuff there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Speaking of Scream, he's leaving now.
Okay.
See you later.
All right, Scream, I know you got to get up early tomorrow. Weenie. Just because you had surgery and all that. So here's the thing. This person says, no, a dogman is entirely different. It cannot change itself, whereas a werewolf can turn into a human form during full moons. So the story off of McNeil, so what? There was a full moon. That could be a coincidence. I don't believe that the full moon has anything to do with this.
Yeah. I think that just that the correlation with the full moon came back before electricity and just if
You could see better.
Yeah, if you think about it practically, there's more light on a full moon night. So.
Yeah, and then that's also when they would attack, probably, because, like you said, they could see better, or
People would move around more at night when they could see.
yeah, it would be more active.
So you'd be more likely to see it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going to get snatched up and killed by something when it's pitch black. You can't see it.
But also, I mean, like, if I was gonna hunt on a night, I would choose the night where people are gonna be most likely out, which are on full moons, which is gonna be the brightest night of the week or the month. So I mean, if I had to, then yeah, obviously that would be where I think that could get. But I think things like that get twisted anyway. Like, I don't think vampires are actually scared of garlic. I mean, it's just like things that either is added on through either Hollywood or, some fiction or something, and they make it, and then all of a sudden people think like, oh, that's just how it is now.
Yeah.
It adds to the legend, and also makes it to where now people see those things and they think, oh, that's fake, and that sounds so preposterous. It's like, oh, if I hold this garlic up to this vampire, then he'll forever stay away from me. Or it's just like things like that just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, so when you go back to these comments, and some of them get ridiculous because, I'm not going to make fun of anybody or anybody, their views or whatever. But this person, I don't know. I don't know that this person is saying that they believe in werewolves changing at the full moon. I think what this person is saying is that's the story. Like, that's the legend, right? But then you got, what is it called? Whispers and Screams, whatever, that guy. Okay, anyway, he says, looks like you've forgotten the meaning of the term werewolf. And he's so smart, he knows everything, right? So smart. And then this person says, maybe remind me, because I know werewolves are 100% real. And this guy says, it's a term meant to indicate a man who is cursed either through a bite, a scratch, or even supernatural means. Any usage of werewolf implies that it's a man or a woman who undergoes a radical change by the light of the full moon. In all my time physically researching Dogman, which this guy, I can tell you right now, does not physically go out and research Dogman. That's whatever, dude. Stop lying.
That just sounds so dumb anyway.
He says, in all my time physically researching Dogman, which you don't do, I've seen no evidence to suggest that they alter shape. This is a person who supposedly has had one encounter. It was a hyena type thing, according to him. I don't see any evidence of you ever going out and physically researching this. But I don't want to start a bunch of crap, so it's whatever. So then I said this. I said the term werewolf has absolutely zero to do with the full moon or being bitten or scratched. The term literally means man-wolf. Okay? And then I said we can talk about this on Tuesday night on Paranormal Roundtable. I will discuss these comments and go over some cases, which I have, and I am. And then this person says, how do you know? This is to the original question or original statement. So, and she says, how do you know? They might be werewolves.
I was going to say, to call something, be like, oh, the term werewolf sounds dumb. It's Dogman. They're Dogmen. They're dog people walking around. That sounds correct. But werewolf, that's just preposterous.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it just sounds foolish.
It's ridiculous. And then this person makes a joke and says to that woman, he says, 100% they're not. You watch too much TV and movies. And then he puts a big laughy face. And then she says, only the serious stuff like Monster Quest. And now I'll say this about Monster Quest. Doug Hychek, the guy that was the producer, he created it, whatever. He's a good friend of mine. And I've been on his show, not on Monster Quest, but I've been interviewed by him. Doug Hychek's a good guy. And he takes what he does seriously. He's a big monster guy. But the thing is, you know, this person's entitled to their opinion too. But people who don't want to believe that this thing could be a shapeshifter in any form, they want to laugh and make jokey comment, jokes, whatever. You got jokes, I got jokes, okay? You don't know everything. And neither do I. But I can say this with 100%, you have not interviewed a quarter of the people that I have. You have not collected the stories that I have, that me and my team, I'm not going to take all the credit, y'all too, my team. We've all talked to many, many, many people about this subject. It's been my wheelhouse for a while. I would say that I'm not an expert at this. Nobody can say they're an expert. But I talk to a lot of the people in this field who I would deem to know a lot more than most people. Like, a lot of my friends in the NADP. Or like Barton Nunley. He's done a bunch of research on this. Or David Weatherly. Maybe you're listening to the wrong people. Have you ever thought about that? Maybe you're listening to talking heads who have shows that are just doing it for popularity, whatever. And those people have a vested interest in making money off of this. I'm not making money off of this, folks. I'm not making money off of this. My business is not werewolves. My business, you already know what it is. Listen to somebody who doesn't have some sort of interest in tricking you or making you believe a certain way because it forms their income. Okay? That's me. I'm not doing this to try to make money. Okay? There's a lot of things I could be doing my Tuesday nights than sitting here talking about this and taking up an entire 2 to 3 hours block of time to discuss what we're talking about here. Now, here's something that somebody else said. Same thread. They said, oh, I'd love to see a real photo of one. It's 2022 and everyone carries a pocket camera. Now, surely we have proof by now. I don't know if this person is being facetious or not, but it's funny. I think it's
they're right.
Comment. And so what I said to this person, the next comment, I'll just go down the comment. They said they come out when it's dark. Not many people will stick around once they make their presence known. Maybe that's true, maybe not. So then that person that said about the camera, they said, so who has seen them to even verify their existence? There's plenty of footage of other elusive nocturnal animals, so why not Dogman? It seems we'd have something solid by now. Absolutely. So then this person says, generations of locals know and have dealt with the Rougarou. Cajuns will not talk about. That's just, I don't know the way that they did this. This is their whatever. Maybe Troy Landry will tell you something. Be honest, the Cajun locals do not want people all over here looking for them. I can understand that. I do not think you understand the swamps, and you could easily be lost gators, get rid of bodies. Would you stay in the swamps of South Louisiana after dark? Before you decide to come here, you really need to learn about our swamps, very tricky and dangerous places. Okay. So then, this person with you, this pretty clever person here, he or she says, because it's I don't know who it says here, thanks for the pic. Somebody sent him a pic. And I don't know what that is. It could be something. I don't know. It might not be. She says, or he says, thanks for the pics, but honestly, why do people interested in this stuff have such crappy cameras? Yeah. Can anybody answer me that question? Because if we're dealing with a flesh and blood evolutionary creature, which you want to believe, okay, exists, I'm not saying it doesn't, then I got some hard questions for you. First of all, why do we have no pictures of it? People have seen these things 1,000 times. People have seen these things 500,000 times, but no pictures, no good pictures of Bigfoot other than the holy grail of what's it called? The Patterson Gimlin. There's really no good pictures. I mean, where is the proof? Where is the beef? That's what I'm asking. Unless these things are what I'm telling you, they are not a physical flesh and blood creature. Or they have the ability to move in and out of the flesh. Like the thing, when the guy was going to hit it, he's like, I'm sure I hit its back leg. We've heard this before. Mm-hmm. That wasn't the first guy that's told us something like this.
Yeah, that he's gone through a Dogman.
Yeah.
Pretty sure.
The lady came on my show and she said it.
And that's just standard. That's not even like outside of the perspective of a supernatural. That's just standard ghost stuff. Ghost stuff is always, you've always hear stories of people driving straight through women or little boys or like and thinking they hurt something, then it just being like disappeared. That's just something that you experience in that supernatural domain. So then to hear those stories happen in the Dogman domain, then suddenly be like, oh, well that's just nothing. Don't worry about that. That makes no sense to me. And I also want to say hi to Shorty Boy Videos and B Moss. I think I just saw him on the chat.
Yeah. Hey, Shotty and Moss. Here's the thing. You can't sit here and have your cake and eat it too. You're not going to convince me that all of this stuff is a physical thing, but yet for some reason we can come up with zero evidence. Does that make any sense to y'all? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. I'm sitting here going like, there was this guy I was arguing with the other day, and Tony, you probably know who he is because he's given us stories before when we were working with Armando. Mm. And he was sitting there just like, yeah, and I saw this dog man and that dog man, and then there was one on my roof, and he was eating my cat. I was very sad. And then he goes, I was so scared I could never go outside my house again. Then he goes, then a month later I was hunting. What? Dogmen were falling off of your roof, eating your cats and your shoes and your wallet and whatever, and then you're out hunting in the next month or whatever.
Yeah, your first thought a month later was, you know what? I bet this would be much better if I didn't have this safe building around me and just this nice little flimsy tent.
It's turkey season.
Oh, yeah.
I need to go kill a turkey.
That's obviously more important.
Hopefully the dogmens that I've seen 100 times won't kill and eat me. So I asked this person, I said, dude, you've seen them so many times. Why do you think that is? He goes, oh, there's an infestation in my area. That property's just full. It's full of them. It's full of dogmen. They're all over the place, blah, 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 blah. We drive out there. I don't see no dogmen. I don't see tracks. I don't see anything.
Scratches. I mean,
nothing. No kind of, one of them scratches vehicle. Where's the vehicle at? Oh, it's in the impound. Okay. Where's the tire that it threw from with its mouth towards you? I threw that tire away. Oh, blah, blah, blah.
Why would you throw it away?
Yeah, exactly. If you had this proof, right? I said, where are the hairs that you said you had, right? Well, what happened?
They blew in the wind.
Exactly. No hairs. Then there was supposed a tooth. That it was chewing on a tree. It shows its physical presence was physical. It was definitely physical, 100%. Blah, 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 blah. The guy's telling me all this stuff.
Well, you know how the tooth fairy works. Any teeth
the tooth came and took it.
So you can't just leave tooth hanging around.
There was a tree with nothing that I saw out of place. This person did manage, I believe, and I'm going to say this, I'm not 100% sure, but I don't know for sure if they bamboozled their way onto this other guy's show. I think he did. I can't remember. It was a few years back. But I don't remember any evidence at all. Do you, Tony? I don't remember any bit of evidence whatsoever.
No, I mean, just it seems like a lot of stories,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of hearsay, like nothing that could actually work in court, and I mean, that's the bottom line. Is like if you want to convince people, can it work in court? Well, if you went to if you're gonna go to jail because you saw Dogman, do you have the proof that they would put you up in jail for? And you don't, and you don't have any proof, even though there's a plethora. I mean, of however you say
Plethora.
that word, plethora of evidence apparently that's just attacking constantly. I mean, and especially if it's physical, it's even more ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what sounds more ridiculous to you? There's this dog, right, that I found, and I swear it's real. It's a real dog, and every time that I show it to you, though, it disappears. But I swear it's a real dog, or that there's this weird dog that just disappears every time I show it to you. It's like this weird ghost dog or something.
Yeah.
It seems more unrealistic that this regular dog is being able to do that magic stuff, and it's supposed to be just this regular dog. Then that this thing obviously has something weird going on. I mean, it's with the technology we have today, not being able to have a single strand of proof, it goes beyond that. It's not physical, I think. It's just, I mean, come on. We have drones now. We have so much.
Which we've also tried to utilize out of
I
Devil's
mean,
Back.
it's just,
Yeah.
there's so much that, like, to not be able to find it now would mean that we're either incompetent on a level that is beyond belief, or these things have something that we don't understand. And you know what's that might be called? Supernatural.
Yeah. Somebody here says lots of woo, Josh. I don't like that term woo. Woo. What does that even mean? Woo. I mean,
Sounds like Ric
is
Flair.
Ric
I
Flair?
guess.
Woo! Is that what you're talking about? A lot of woo, because that's what's involved with Dogman is a lot of woo. If you don't like woo, I don't know what to tell you. There's a lot of woo, like we have a lot of Shasta Cola here, okay? Refreshing. But I can tell you this. Michael Covert says, it's raining Dogman. Dogman. It's raining Dogman. Hallelujah. Okay. And Chairman Mao says, smells like BS. Yeah, it did to me too, buddy. And I think it was. But thank you for wasting my time, sir. Never went back. And then he tried to bamboozle once. Like I said, I think he did get on this person's show, which there was another reason why I was like, what is going on with this? I mean, come on, dude. Oh, it's a fantastical story. And it definitely was a physical creature. But Tony, and correct me if I'm wrong, did I not ask this person if they owned a camera?
Yeah.
And they said yes. And I said, why didn't you use it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, one by his tree. He said it was chewing on the tree for 20 solid minutes. Why didn't you use the camera? Because if it was me, there'd be two things going on there. Holy, there's a dog, man. You know, and I take my glasses off because that helps me see far away. These are for seeing close up. I'm farsighted. So I take my glasses off. Holy crap. Batman, there's a dog man out there. Out of the way, Robin. I guess I would be Batman. I couldn't be Robin. You'd be Robin.
Oh, okay.
Okay? I'm Batman. Holy crap, Robin. There's a dog man out there.
Yoinky Scoop.
That's not what Robin would do. I
my
hate
bad.
Batman because he's a rich man's son. But I will say this. I'm gonna go ahead and say what Robin should have said. If it was Tony playing Robin, he'd be like, let me finish eating my noodles, because that's what he eats like every day. That's why he doesn't get any bigger. And then I would have said, put your noodles down and grab a camera, Robin, because there's a dog man chewing on a tree. I've been standing here staring at it for only 2 minutes, because who in their right mind would stand here and stare at it for 20?
Which
Without
camera
taking
do
a
you
picture.
mean? Do you mean a regular camera?
Well, we all
$5
have
camera?
miniature computer cameras
You
that
mean
we
this
carry
phone
around in our
camera on my
hands.
phone? Do you mean like 1,000 other cameras that they could have been anywhere?
Exactly.
I mean, there's no excuse really. I mean, today for there not to be anything,
Yeah.
unless there's a supernatural aspect to it. I mean, it seems pretty simple to me. I mean, anyone who argues against that is just like, I mean, where's your proof?
I like what Anthony did. Anthony, besides stealing several small knickknacks off of his curio cabinet and putting them in his pocket, and we walked out.
What did I do now?
You're
What did I
a
steal?
thief.
If there's one thing I'm not going to steal, it's knickknacks. I hate knickknacks. No, let me tell you all
I
something.
know, no,
This guy's
stop.
got 50 million knickknacks in his room, and all I do is sit there and collect dust. I hate
Stop,
knickknacks.
dude. Those are treasures
try
that
it.
I got off the black market back when I was doing things. Shut up. Okay, with that Egyptian mask, shut up. That is not just a knickknack, my
Well,
friend.
no, okay, obviously something this big is not a knickknack.
Okay, well,
Talking about
I'm
the
talking about what
little-
you stole from the guy.
What I stole from who?
The silver bullets. Okay, I'm not going to get into it.
Okay.
Point is,
The point is, you're a thief.
those
No.
long, nimble fingers.
Let's get serious here. No, seriously, we're making a joke. Okay, you didn't steal any knickknacks from the guy. We're talking about the goober that told us that he had all this evidence. There was no physical evidence, folks, is what I'm trying to say. That's what it boils down to. Okay, our friends that we know that we worked with from Hernandez Ranch, did they ever tell us they had any shred of physical evidence? No, they did not. Not one of them ever said, "Hey, come out here and I'm gonna show you some physical evidence. Oh, you're gonna see a Dogman and blah blah blah, and then we're gonna shoot at it." And that never happened. But every time it's ever happened that somebody has told me that they have some sort of physical proof, there's no physical proof. And my brother, I don't know if he's listening on the show tonight or whatever. I don't see him in the chat, but if he is, he can vouch for this. We had this guy tell us, "I'm a werewolf. I can change into a werewolf." Blah blah blah. He sends us a video of him running across the screen 2 or 3 times with nothing. And what I mean nothing, I mean nothing.
I mean, maybe in his mind he was a werewolf. He was
Now,
like-
I don't know if he was trolling us or what, but he seemed pretty adamant, and he says, "I am a spiritual Therian, some crap." I'm like, dude, I don't give a crap about
one of
that.
those
all right?
Telemites.
Okay, whatever it is. Okay, I don't know what that word is. But I told him, I said, "Look, sir, okay, I'm not interested in you showing us your naked butt, okay? I want to see you turn into a werewolf." It didn't happen. It didn't materialize. But you're still left with these stories of credible people, and it's confounding. It's where does the line between Dogman, werewolf, skinwalker, interdimensional, physical, it's so
Imitations.
imitations.
Like, I mean,
It's so blurred that you don't know what you're dealing with.
then you still have different segregations between those. It's like you have hyenas, and then you also have werebears, like we were talking about earlier. And then you have just regular dogman. But even in those, you have different types between. You have the smaller ones, the ones with the bigger heads, which obviously look stronger, and then just a regular medium-sized ones. It's like it goes through so many different categories that once you start like closing off all these other categories, you immediately close off so much information.
Yeah, you're right. Larsanti says he identified as a werewolf. Okay, and that brings up a story. Okay, like me, for example. Okay, this happened a long, long time ago. I was young. I needed the money. No, I'm just kidding. No, I did do something very silly, years ago, and I got smart mouthed with a cop. And you learn your lesson. You learn. I didn't get arrested, but I came close to getting arrested because I got smart mouthed or whatever. Well, my brother, he learned a very valuable lesson about taking off his clothes and acting a fool. And this was when we were in our 20s. He was in his late 20s. I was in my mid 20s. And the police officer came and he asked him a question. This is back before all this identifying as this or that or cancel culture. And he says, "I identify as Saddam Hussein. Take me to jail." And they did. So, you can take your clothes off and you can run around and you can act a fool and you can do whatever you want. But it doesn't change facts. You are what you are. And he's not Saddam Hussein. And he was identifying a very particular part of his body. And the cop was like, "I'm not amused," and took him to jail. Now, he was drunk as hillbilly friends of mine would say is drunk as Cooter Brown, and he was hanging out in front of Logan's, and he was holding a group of people hostage basically with his nudity. And I know you guys have heard this story before. We tried to get him and put him in the truck, me, Willie, and Spike, and he wouldn't go, and me, Willie, and Spike were not willing to touch him. So a police officer friend of ours took him into custody. Didn't actually put him in jail. I can say he put him in jail. He arrested him. And was nice enough to turn him over to us after they repantsed him, whatever. Moral to the story is you can call yourself whatever you want. It doesn't make it true. You can identify as Saddam Hussein. You can identify as a werewolf. You can say whatever you want. It doesn't change the facts. People who want to believe a certain way are going to believe that certain way, and they're going to be what they're going to be. And you can call it woo, you can call it boo, you can call it hoobie-doo. I don't give a crap what you call it. Okay? My response to all this hootenanny was, yet there are no photos. And this person that made that snarky comment originally had said, agreed. But I'd love to see a real one. And I'm like, yeah, me too. A lot of things I'd love to see. Shapeshifter. Want to see a real one. I'm not talking about the thing that I saw because it didn't shapeshift. But I'd love to see a real werewolf shapeshift. But from a distance. I don't listen. If you are one and you really are one, please don't come up here because something bad would happen, and not just to me, probably to you too. But it says here, this person says, I like the theory that dogmen are a remnant, I think that's what they're trying to say, of an ancient extraterrestrial race. It would sure explain a lot: glowing eyes, incredible strength, speed, intelligence, and telepathy. Many people say what they've seen is unworldly. Some old legends say that dogmen, then he has it in parentheses, werewolf people come from Sirius, the dog star. Canis is the root word for canine. Dogman was a warrior race of Sirius. Now, I don't know what all that, But, I mean, when you start going down the rabbit hole of that comment, let's break it down real quick. He says, I like the theory that dogmen are a remnant of an ancient extraterrestrial race. Who here in the audience has not heard of the Anunnaki? Who here in the audience has not heard of reptilians? And then I had people argue with me, and they're like, Anunnaki and reptilians are the same thing. No, they're not. And that's a whole nother rabbit hole. Also, I was going to say something before we go any further. I think it's Shade Viking. I think he was talking about telling a story. You had a very important story.
Yeah, he said he was going to talk to you about
Yeah,
it.
he said,
Please.
I might tell Wolf, but do it anonymously type thing. But I'm going to tell a story because maybe he will like it to hear it.
Most people
I'd like to
do
hear it.
want to tell it anonymously because this is what happens. They get made fun of. But let me touch on this. What's going on, Tony?
I was just going to read this comment that I thought, but I mean, you can go ahead. It's no
Go ahead, read it.
Well, Chino here says, I think there's a line between real factual carbon-based animals and then fantasy like werebears, werewolves, and other such cryptids. And my question to you is like, what's the line then? What is the line?
Mm-hmm.
You're saying to use critical thinking, and it's like you have no proof of either. You can't prove one as being real, and you can't prove it as being not real. So your critical thinking doesn't work at all.
Yeah.
I mean, all of this is a lot of theory thinking while also hearing about different encounters and postulating on those. That's all anybody can really do. Unless you want to believe that there's 75 dogmen on one place and this guy can just somehow hoard them and control them all.
Yeah, but amazingly, when we go there, there's no physical proof of anything at all whatsoever.
He's the King Solomon of Dogman.
Yeah. He had a magical ring. In fact, it was a Green Lantern knockoff ring that, we weren't even...
He bought it at a Mexican flea market.
And he kept watching us in his house like, couldn't steal nothing. I'm kidding, folks. I'm not a thief. That's like...
Not like this guy over here.
I had Loki in the back. Loki was letting out we took all of his chickens and his hogs, and we loaded them up and we were gone. I'm just joking. Loki would never do that with us. He would just hoard them for himself. No, here's the thing. So some old legends say that Dogman came from the series The Dog Star. Now that is there's an African tribe that actually does believe in that. And I'm not going to get into a whole bunch of different whatever, because I'm going to focus on some stories here. But it says, I like the theory that Dogmen are a remnant of an ancient extraterrestrial race. Stop for a second here and think about it. We know that the Aztecs had gods. One of them in particular was Xolotl. Was a dog-headed god. What is the one from Egypt?
Anubis.
Anubis. Why do these cultures from thousands of miles apart have all these different dog-headed, whatever, wolf-like type creatures? They are always associated with these Anunnaki or the reptilians. Now, when you get into shape-shifting, the reptilians, I'm going to bring James Bartley on. If you guys don't know who James Bartley is, you better check yourself before you wreck yourself, all right? That's all I'm saying. James I was watching him on TV the other day. He's a good guy, and I messaged him. I said, I'm going to get you on the show. You can come on the show, and we're gonna chop it up, okay? I could sit here and I could stack the deck. I could bring on Paul Sinclair like I was going to. I could bring on Barton. I could bring on Ken and Lyle, my buddies, and I could bring on David Wedley. I could bring on all these people who are going to tell you this is absolutely a supernatural creature. So I can speak for these people because they've told me this. And I could get Jody Cook to tell you there's two different things. I could get all these people on here to tell you. Nick Valenti, same thing. And we'll all just tell you with one voice, Steve Stockton, Josh Nonocchio. I mean, how many people? We could go on and on. I could throw you a bunch of names out there who are going to tell you that. I could get Dark Waters to come on here. We could have everybody just come on and tell you one after the other that they believe the same way I do. And Linda would too, I speak for her. She's not well, but Linda Godfrey, when many conversations back and forth. Yes, this is what we believe. Now, the question, and this is absolutely the most important thing, is we together have interviewed thousands of people. Thousands of people. But yet, you still have these people who don't want to believe in what we're telling you. And I'm telling you, we did not start out like this. Linda did not start out like this. Dark, me, all of us, we came to these conclusions after you think I just woke up and I said, oh, you know what? I think Dogman's a ghost. I think it's a ghost monster. Here it is right here. It's a delicious ghost right here. See it? That's what Dogman is. And that's not an advertisement either. It's not taking away from delicious Shasta Cola. Proud sponsor of, what we're doing here. Look, I'm telling you right now, okay, 100%, 1,000%, if you look at all of these researchers and all of these people who are doing we're in the field, these boots on the ground. Well, some of them are boots on the ground, some of them aren't. But they're interviewing these people by the dozens, and they're saying the same thing. Then you have a very small subset of people. This is probably about how big their brains are, who are going to sit up here and tell me, well, yeah, I don't really care how much people stuff you've interviewed, how many times have people have said that there's things that I'm going to believe is just this, that. Just because you want to believe that, just because. And you only follow or respect the person until they say something that you don't agree with. You're willfully ignorant. And then when you go down the rabbit hole, that's where you end up, and you're looking in the mirror every day at a very willfully ignorant person.
If you have like a theory about some of this stuff and your theory gets proven wrong, if you actually really care about getting to the truth of the matter, instead of being angry at someone who just objectively disproves whatever it is you believe, you should be thankful, because every time your idea is proven wrong beyond a shadow of a doubt, that means you're one step closer to the truth. So, if you just get out of your emotions, stop being a little kid You don't have to be right. You should be grateful for being wrong, because every time you're wrong, you're that much closer to being right. You know, like these.
It's deduction.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's common sense. Like, just use your brain. It's not your ego and not your feelings. It's be a big boy or a big girl. You know, we're not little kids. Grow up. It's very simple.
Here's the thing: is like you might be right, and you might be right, but you're only right until you're wrong. And it's like and you might not experience anything yet that might be supernatural, but what happens when you do? Are you all of a sudden just gonna like whoever's friend? Are you all of a sudden just gonna be like, well, I mean, I saw it, but I don't want to believe it? It's
Yeah.
like, you can't do that. That's you can't. That's not how.
We're not friends anymore because you don't believe like me.
Yeah, I mean, you just don't. You can't be like that.
And here's another comment. So you go down the thread here. This was an amazing thread. And like I said, there was another one in another group, but it got cut short because there was the name calling started. This one they didn't do that. They kept it more civil, and it went on and on. And like I said, Mark Bridges, I've talked to him. He's from Australia. He's a Yowie researcher. He's a good guy. I'll probably bring him on the show one day. But he allowed the comments to go on, which was admirable. You know, they as long as they weren't insulting. But this person says, very deep stuff. And they're talking to the person who originally said, I like the theory that they are a remnant of ancient extraterrestrial race, which is very possible. Who's to say they're not? This person says, very deep stuff. I have seen as well that Bigfoot figures in similarly after hearing that he too is more from another dimension or perhaps a planet world as well. Interestingly enough, it all goes back to Native American teachings of creatures being the guardians of the forest rather than some kind of ape man that we're being told. Thanks for the enlightenment. And then he signs off his name. And then he says, I might add, the fact that these things are so abstract from a science perspective leads to so many free thinkers to speculate because human nature wants to shortcut real knowledge, right, about our reality to fill in the blanks to try and understand a very complex subject such as Dogman, Bigfoot, and lizard creatures that have humanoid characteristics that have been experienced at many different levels by explorers, skeptics, and anthropologists, and others. And then I interjected and said, shut up, man. I'm going to deal with this topic on Paranormal Roundtable, man. You don't know nothing, dude. I didn't say all that. But I did say we're going to discuss it. But now I'm going to repeat what he said. He says, I might add the fact that these things are so abstract from a science perspective. I like what he says here. It leads to so many free thinkers to speculate because human nature wants to shortcut real knowledge about our reality to fill in the blanks, to try and understand a very complex subject such as Dogman, Bigfoot, and lizard creatures that have humanoid characteristics that have been experienced at many different levels by explorers, skeptics, anthropologists, and others. Now, whether he's trying to say that you're shortcutting it into saying that it's a spiritual thing, or you're trying to say that it's a physical thing, either way, that's what people do. And Madeline, thank you for that donation. We appreciate it. Thank you for being. You were at the conference too. Very cool person. Very, very cool. Very cool person. And I think you saw me gouging people with the prices of my merchandise because that's what I do. I'm basically like a comanchero.
Yeah, you and your husband bear witness to our price gouging, supposedly.
Mm.
Now, Kevin, he goes back here, and I said here, I said, I will discuss this topic on Paranormal Roundtable on Tuesday night. We can go over some of these comments. And then Kevin says, I look forward to your show. I want to believe, and if I witness it, I most definitely will not question it. I admire your outlook and knowledge, brother. I hold a great deal of respect for you as both a friend and a fellow researcher. I definitely don't question you. Others maybe, but you have always been straight with me, Josh, and you've always shown me a great deal of respect as well. I am very curious to hear you speak on the topic, and I do look forward to it. Always know that even if I might question a possibility, I will never question you. And then, but then he says, but here in the Appalachians, we do refer to them as werewolves because they match the perfect description of the modern-day film version werewolf, plus the most credible witnesses here have never even heard the name Dogman. Same in my neck of the woods. They don't know what the heck a Dogman is. It sounds like a circus freak. In fact, we were talking to one of our relatives the other day, me and Anthony, and we tried to describe to them as a Dogman. They thought we were talking about something from a carnival. like it was like a circus animal. I make a joke out of it. Okay? I said, people are free to believe what they wish, but I'm going by actual documented observations made by ancient explorers such as Marco Polo and others who had observed closely and some who even interacted with these unusual creatures. They spoke of the habits of the creatures and how they prefer to live underground in caves and dens, but were active above ground during the day. These explorers also mentioned how the dog-headed tribes barked and yelped like dogs in order to communicate. They also mentioned how some of the tribes would cannibalize their own. They would capture their enemies not as prisoners of war, but as food. Some way, somehow, I believe the Dogman are the answers of these dog-headed tribes, but somewhere along the way, they went backwards as far as evolving in intelligence like humans, but they still maintain a strong predatory instinct as well as unique intelligence. They have proven to be extremely fast problem solvers, and their hunting tactics are absolutely mind-blowing. It is clear they are very smart, and they have highly unique hunting methods. They know how to make a decoy to extract their prey and are quick problem solvers, especially when it comes to figuring out how to open doors and sometimes unlock them. Well, let's break it down. We're going to tell a little story here. No, hold on. It says here that these people spoke of habits of the creatures and how they prefer to live underground in caves and dens. We've heard this before. Somebody messes with something underground. Now we get into the woo, whatever you want to call it. The story that Linda Godfrey covered, there was also on Paranormal Witness. I believe Mr. Ballin did it too. It's about the family in Maine, and the guy's guns were locked up in the what was it, in the barn or something.
Yeah,
and you were so mad. Anthony was like, "What?"
Yeah, because his wife insisted that they lock up their guns in the barn. Yeah. First off, if you're gonna need a gun, it's because you need to defend your life against something.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, why? Not only do you put them in something, you have to go out of your way to unlock, but then you have to go out to the barn to unlock them. I mean, like, what's next? He's supposed to reassemble them too.
Speaking of which, I just went to go get groceries. Can you help me put them in the trash for me? Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, so you and Nelly really got aggravated by the. I was just laughing because I was like, and she's like, I don't want those dangerous things in the house and blah blah blah, but you could have some other dangerous things come into the house, like werewolves or Dogman or whatever you want to call it, or dog wares. I don't know, but you know, here's the thing. Caves, whatever, they found what they think was a den, right, in that story. But it started out with balls of light in the woods, if I'm not mistaken. Right? So you got balls of light. You have an underground something or another. They find it. Then the next day you have these things coming onto their property, messing with them. The balls of light are reminiscent of what? Fairies?
Yeah.
But they could also be the Jinn. They could also be extraterrestrial or interdimensional. I mean, they could be anything. But they're orbs. They're absolutely balls of light. Okay? So, if we were to believe these things were some ancient creatures from the past, whatever, Armando, my former co-host who passed away from COVID, sadly, we didn't agree on that totally, but because his theory was that they were, and it was one thing that he postulated on, but I'm not gonna say it was his. But I think toward the end that was his strongest theory that he believed. I think he kind of believed in it, was that they were absolutely some sort of remnant population that had gone backwards. And then you start to look at these, these anecdotes, of history. These creatures were a dog-headed warrior tribe, whatever. And even if that's true, that still doesn't take away from the possibility that they could be a metaphysical creature. It's even more probable because, follow me for this one. You are part of a dog-headed race of beings that came here either with the Anunnaki or the reptilians or whatever. You were part of maybe you were part of a multilateral, unilateral, intergalactic federation. Let's say there were 3 dogmen and 3 Bigfoot and 3 reptilians and 3 gray aliens and 3 human people and blah, 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 and 3 octopi type creatures, and you were all on a spaceship and you came here, hypothetically, and your job, you were tasked by this federation, intergalactic federation, to get samples and to see if there's a good chance you can terraform, and you do this and you do that. Then something happens. Your mission goes awry.
You crash land instead of just
Yeah,
landing.
you crash land.
It's like
Two of the Chewbacca creatures run off together into the woods, and they make little Chewbaccas. But the two octopi people, one of them survives, goes into the ocean, and maybe he can, or she can self-replicate, because we know that cephalopods are very weird. That creates some stuff. Then you go down the rabbit hole, right? The dog werewolf type people creatures, whatever, they go off and they breed. They have little dog werewolf people creatures. Down the generations, they're not going to have any memory of where they came from or who they were or what they were.
No.
The humans populate, and then they become more prolific, and they interbreed with the humanoidal creatures that were already here, and then they become dumb as hell because whatever was here was probably dumb. But eventually they become us. And then we're running into each other going like, well, what is this? But it depends on how physical each individual species was to begin with. How advanced was each species? And did some of them have an innate ability to transfer themselves from physical into a metaphysical state? And did some of them not have that ability? And they were working together unilaterally in exchange of information, culture, ideas. And it was just something that us as the humans did not possess because they were interbred. We were interbred. But these dog-headed men, creatures, whatever they are, they had that innate ability, and it just is something that they naturally do. Another possibility. Right?
Yeah.
Is that altogether plausible, possible?
I mean, it's
Just
as possible as
anything
any.
else.
Exactly. It's as possible as any other theory that's been thrown out there.
I was just thinking like, the plot twist on that movie, The Others. Like, wouldn't it be interesting if that was like the case, but like just kind of globally? So like we're like us as human beings and these creatures as cryptids are occupying the same physical space, but like in different vibrational planes, and like to them we're like the weird things that pop that they see, and vice versa.
Yeah, because they're not seeing us all the time.
Yeah.
There's also another little theory based on your theory is like, what if it's like how they conquer new planets is that they send some species of like each group onto a planet, let them repopulate it, and the winning species gets to, like that's how they figure it out. And
Or what if
just
it's all
a big
just
game to
game
them.
show? Yeah,
exactly.
exactly. I thought about that.
It's just a giant game to them. I mean, when you're throwing out that theory, that's the first thing I thought of. Was like, oh, it's just a big game.
Let's talk about the reptilian agenda for a minute, because it ties into this, because that's a shape-shifting whole deal there. Now, you will have three different main categories of subsets of reptilians. You would have an interdimensional one is subterranean, which could be the same, and then one that comes from outer space, But they all have the same innate ability to shapeshift. Now, I can tell you this. When you start to look, do you want to talk about science? Do you know that there are lizards that if you pull their tail, it comes off and then it grows back? You know that alligators and crocodiles never stop growing? They'll grow as big as their environment allows them to.
As long as they can have food to eat.
That's right. They do a lot of things that we as mammalians cannot do. Now, if you gene spliced these reptilian genes into a wolf-type creature, imagine what you could get. I mean, it's probably already been done, and not just by, intergalactic Federation space beings, but probably by our own mischievous shadow government. Who the heck knows? But what I'm telling you right now is that anything is possible, and if you sit there and you shut out every single thing, now don't be so open-minded that your brain falls out of your head. And just like we did, you got to be objective. And when somebody tells you, "Yeah, I was chewing on that tree over there," and yet you took no pictures, then you start to question that. You got to be, hey, okay, this person's full of crap. Another guy tried to pull the wool over me and Nellie's eyes and say, yeah, 2 or 3 days of talking about Dogman. Then, it wanted to mate with me. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. But I'm not putting. We're not gonna we're not gonna go there
It's one of those
and
things
interview
where
you
it's-
for a 2 or 3 hour show
Yeah.
just for you to come out and say some stuff like that. Now, maybe I did a disservice by dismissing this guy, but I just felt like I didn't want to hear about it, if it did happen.
It's one of those two.
He wanted to go into
unique-
detail. I was like, nope.
Yeah, it's one of those two unique stories that's like, oh, we're good, thank you.
Yeah, and I've heard enough. And so when you go into the whole, you go down that rabbit hole of what these things can do and what they can't do, all you can do is go by what eyewitness accounts have given you. I'm going to give you a reptilian story. Now, you tell me this. This lady, this happened in, it was in Oklahoma. I'm trying to remember the name of this. It's a small little town. Ah, dang it. It's in the middle of Oklahoma. Okay, and I know this. It's right outside of Oklahoma City. Anyway, I can tell you this right now. This woman, she lived out in the country. She had, and it was in a double wide trailer home. Okay, people think that, oh, you live in a trailer house. It's not like some sort of a house that can be haunted. Like, dude, trust me. There are a lot of hauntings that go on in all kinds of places, duplexes, trailer homes, whatever. This person had a double wide trailer home in a trailer park. The whole area was haunted. There were like 2 or 3 other hauntings that were going on. It wasn't just that one trailer that was haunted. But I think that there was some sort of energy vortex there, and I'll tell you why. Because her and a neighbor, and I spoke with the neighbor very briefly, but I spoke with this woman. I think it was not this summer, but the summer before. And she talked about a reptilian-type creature materializing out of the closet and walking toward the foot of her bed. It was black, and it absolutely had a tail, and it was like a shadow ink spot that moved into a black hole. Now, 2 weeks prior to this encounter, which is where I got involved in it anyway, was a dog-headed looking creature entity that was seen running through the trailer park. Very much looked like flesh and blood, but did the same thing. It ran and it went into a dark spot. It was near dusk, and there was like a weird shadow by a tree, and it sunk into the shadow. Then this person, her name's Helen, but Helen sees this thing come out of the closet area. They had a sliding door closet, whatever, with a mirror on it. So I guess I should say it materialized from the mirror. Reptilian, black, shape looking thing, whatever. When it materialized, she said it almost looked human to begin with, and then it began to look more and more lizard-like as it was gaining form. What spooked it, I think, was her 2 kids coming down the hallway arguing and then opening her door, which she said usually she was mad as heck is when they came out and started, she opened the door but that day she was glad. So when you look at this particular case, that is a supernatural occurrence, right? To us. It's kind of like when you had the paper, Anthony, and you were showing with the pencil and you went back and forth,
Yeah.
and you were showing the dimensions, a right angle from a right angle.
Yeah.
Okay. This thing materializes more than likely from a right angle from a right angle. And it is a spiritual looking entity that materializes physical, but it starts out as very humanoidal, almost human looking, until it becomes almost like a lizard hunched over and then departs through a black hole that just developed next to the mirror. Her kids walked in. I believe it was her son. Her youngest son turned and saw it, and the daughter didn't see it. She just saw like a shadow real quick. He saw like what looked like he said a snake, but she said it was the tail. You could see why he would think it was a snake. It was very reptilian, and it had he could see, though it was black, he could still see that it was what do you call it, scales. Very much a reptilian, right? So if you take that case and you look at that case, all right, multiple people in that area reported through these two women. It wasn't just what them themselves didn't tell me, so I can't say that I can't testify to the veracity of everything else. But they were saying that they were seeing shadow people. One in particular was the Hat Man that her neighbor next to her had seen. They saw a weird-looking, shadow-looking thing moving around in the backyard. So why, on this particular plot of land, is there all this shadow activity going on, where people are seeing reptilians and people are seeing werewolf-looking creatures? What would be the significance of that? But it's all happening, like you said. It could be that they're moving around, and they're witnessing us like we're witnessing them, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now put yourself in their position, right? The creatures. Let's say, for argument's sake, I don't believe this. Okay, first of all, I'm going to preface it with that. But let's say, for argument's sake, you're writing a story like you're talking about the others, okay? And you're a person that's trying to fictionalize or whatever. You could come up with a story that would make it seem like they're scared that the humans are scaring them.
Yeah.
And they're running around going, oh my God, there's another one. And they're jumping through holes to get away from them because they're like there's these people, things, whatever they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, that lizard man was trying to go to the bathroom and
Yeah.
he came out and saw this lady in his bed.
And
Like,
the
they don't
lizard
have
people.
fur, they don't have scales. What are these ugly,
What are
hideous
these-
things?
What is this hairless ape in my bed?
Exactly. And so you got the Bigfoot and the Dogman and the reptile, and they're all scared of us, and like Anthony was saying. But you could twist it, and make it fit. If you were a Stephen, what's his name, writer? What's the guy's name? King. I was going to call him McQueen, Steve McQueen. It's not his name. Stephen King. If you were writing a Stephen King type book or whatever, you could take that and you could turn it and say, this is what's what we're talking about. But the fact of the matter is, this happened to people, really happened to people, right? And these people were terrified. Now, as far as I understand, and I haven't followed up because I have 100 other things I'm trying to do, but nobody was hurt by any of these things. They weren't touched by any of these things. They just saw these things, and it terrified them. What the significance of it was in that area, and I can look the town up. I got to go back to my notes. I don't have them in front of me. But you're sitting here going like, why would they look human and then shift? There has to be a supernatural element to that, because maybe they're coming out because they are shapeshifters and they're coming into our world. And what if they are just interdimensional or extraterrestrial or ultra-terrestrial, and that's their true form, and they're going back and forth between our world, and they're shedding their other form. Go ahead.
Oh no, I mean you continue what you were going to say, but I was going to say like to continue on what you were saying is like, what if like a merging of dimensions is happening? And these creatures are, like you said, the regular denizens of that other universe.
Yeah.
So what, instead of like it like switching forms as a human, what if it's taking over what they like, that would be their other form? Or you know what I mean? Like, you know, like how I have a bunch of different Tonys that do a bunch of different things differently than how I did it. Even though there's also a bunch of Tonys that are doing exactly the way everything I do right now. What if like these creatures are another form of that human in another universe, and it just got smashed together, and now what we're seeing as a change is actually that creature coming to being or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like we might see the transfer into it, but we never really or we might see the transfer out of it, but like it's not really what we think it is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
It's like basically it's not like them turning into, or a human turning into a monster, but instead it's like a merging, and then it's just like whatever's left over.
Well, that would coincide with what it says in the Kabbalah. Now, I'm not a Kabbalist, okay, but I have talked about this before, and it is something I think that I talked about it on the I think when I talked about it on the show with David Weatherly, one of the times he was on, and we went over that, and it is in the Kabbalah. It talks about demons being creatures that are basic, or beings or entities that were from a compressed. They were from another universe, and it was compressed, like it was smashed, and they were like a mishmash of spiritual energy that was that was compressed together and to become. That's why they look like a mix mash of different types of creatures, because that's what they are. Imagine if something happened and our world was destroyed atomically, or something blew up, nuclear maybe, I don't know, something compressed us, and you ended up being compressed with the spirit of a donkey mixed with a snake or something. But that could just be an ancient way of trying to explain what we're dealing with.
Well, my only thing about those is that we'd find more unique combinations instead of these very specific ones over and over again. You'd find, like you said,
Yeah,
donkey
some just
with
random,
snakes,
very random,
very random stuff. It's way too organized and specific. Or even though there's a lot of different categories, you still see a lot of those categories. Like there's still a lot of stories about big-headed Dogman. There's still a lot of stories about smaller Dogman, and there's stories about, like we said, werebears and also shifters. So it's like, but there's not stories about like a dog, werebear, pig, man, flying thing, gargoyle. Like there's not something like super out of the box, and I think a compressed universe would have something like that.
Yeah, you'd have like the. Do you remember the game Spore with the little spore?
Oh yeah,
creatures?
you'd
I
have
remember.
spores.
Yeah, where you make
exactly.
your own little creature with it, and they dance and stuff. You'd have,
They
like,
would
weird-
dance
yeah.
to mate or whatever.
Yeah, it'd just be like
Yeah, you'd have stuff like that.
just the wildest things. I mean, because that's the only problem I have with that. But like DM here, or DM Devil here says, it's like a I just lost it. Basically, like a body transfer where you're just switching bodies, but then those two bodies merge together. And if you were two human Tonys, then yeah, it would just look like human Tony, who maybe doesn't remember stuff and is a little dumb. But if it was Dogman Tony and Human Tony, or just Dog Tony, and that they got merged together, all of a sudden this new creature comes out like that. That could be something. It's just like, who knows? That's not even a possibility with everything that people are doing nowadays, merging colliders and stuff. It's like, who knows what kind of monsters are being created.
Whatever it
from
is,
that.
if it's part Tony, it's not going to be
It's
too
not-
bright.
It's not
worth it
super
good.
smart, so I mean,
It's not nearly as good as.
It's going to be a little slow on the uptake.
Come
Yeah.
on now, one Asian Tony and then another Asian Tony mixed together
you
means
didn't get
super
the
smart.
smart
Well, you did,
You got the
here's
other
the
ones.
clan SCC says, there are cases of all cases. Spiritual appears but cannot be harmed, and physical and can be harmed. It's almost as if it's a process for these things to cross over. Yeah. You're right. Yeah. And then Dumpster Diving Dogman had a comment down here I wanted to read. He had a couple of really good ones back earlier. And it says here, maybe plasma orbs are their natural state.
And like we said earlier, maybe like it's spirits inhabiting bodies,
Yeah.
and that maybe like that is their natural state.
Yeah. I mean, you got a lot of good comments here. We have very intelligent listeners. Now, Bill Paxton says, as old as our planet is and as short as our lifespan is, not to question things is just unwise. And I say something else about the Mandela effect, too. Is it's been freaking me out lately. There's been a lot of weird stuff that's happened. I don't know what's going on with that. I just know that a lot of people have been reporting it lately, and I can't tell you enough how weird it is. Gallagher just died. When I thought he died like 15 years ago, the comedian. And if he did die 15 years ago, why did he stop making stuff? Like why if he was been alive all this time? I mean, it's just weird. I don't know. There's like so many things going on. And then there was another sighting of the demonic black cat that I'm going to try and get into. I'll probably try to talk about it next week, whatever. But the demonic black cat that's seen on Capitol Hill every time there's an election, the midterms or the presidential election. And, of course, people have claimed that they've seen it again. I read an article about it recently. It's just...
Well, what party is he supporting? That's what matters.
yeah, there is a, as you said earlier, plethora of all types of weirdness going on.
For each category, supernatural too. That's what is really boggling to me. Is like even it's the same with Bigfoot. It's the same with ghosts. It's the same with Goatman. I mean, you have satyrs, and then you also have these demonic, like Goatmen. So it's like, well, was there a difference between the two? Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, it's hard to say. And then you have all kinds of, you know, even the of miniature people. You have the Pugwudgies, and then you have the Duende, like all kinds of different. You have like either leprechauns or evil, like, you know, elves. I mean not elves, fairies. It's hard to, and it's also like, are they the same thing? And people are just giving them different names. This is just a subject that's just so hard to figure out, because it's like you're literally staring into the abyss trying to pick out pieces and fish for stuff, and you can't, because you can't see anything.
Yeah, and then when you stare into the abyss, what happens?
You know, it stares back, and that's what happens to a lot of these people, is that once they start, you know, dealing with the supernatural, then all of a sudden these supernatural things start happening to them. And it's like, you know, you made your bed, you got to lie in it, but at the same time, it's like, you don't want to wish that on anybody.
You know, somebody here says the Hadron Collider, almost like that movie The Mist, weird, just like that book 1984. Yeah, I mean, that's... It says, this person says, Mandela effect just proves humans have malleable memories. No, it doesn't.
Well, you don't need the Mandela effect to prove that.
That's
I mean,
you know,
that's kind of a silly comment.
I'm going to tell you this, and I'm not attacking you for your comment. You want to believe that, that's fine. But Jamie Gone, there's certain things that I'm absolutely certain of. Like, I know that this happened the way that I remembered it. And I've talked to multiple people, and they remember it the same way. And things changed. If you think for a second that they're not messing with timelines and changing things, I don't know what to tell you.
I mean, it's
If
pretty
you believe
simple.
that the government or the governments of this world coming together, especially, are not capable of doing or tampering with, messing with things, then you're very naive.
I
Go ahead,
mean,
Tony. What
I was
was
going to say, it's very simple to prove that humans, it's not just a malleable memories, because there's multiple people who've never met each other who have similar memories. And so it's like, well, what are you talking about? It's like, that's just not malleable. That's multiple cases throughout different, you know, worldwide, of these people remembering things a certain way and it not being that way. And it's like, you can't convince me that all these people somehow managed to remember it this specific way. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, like some global mass hysteria is actually, it's actually to believe that everyone's full by the same false memory. It's sillier to believe that than it is to believe that.
Yeah, I mean, they're
you
both.
know, it's like some kind of
Well,
phenomena is happening.
let's go back to the earlier when I was talking about the guy that was heckling me about Bigfoot. Here's the funny thing. Besides him eventually coming around and you know whatever, here's the funny thing about that. This person said that he would be more apt to believe in a spiritual Bigfoot than he would in the physical, because he's like, there's no proof of it. There is no evidence of it. He has been out in the woods 25 years hunting, never saw any evidence of this thing doing anything.
I mean, that's kind of where I stand too. And it's like, it's not that I don't believe in a physical, but it's hard to convince me when, you know, I'm seeing the technology we have today and you don't have anything besides just some footprints and, like, you know, blurry photos.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what are you taking them on? The security camera? It's ridiculous.
And why does it have to be just physical or just spiritual?
I mean, that's the thing too. That's the worst part.
I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, like, we as human beings are not just physical and we're not just spiritual.
Yeah, we
so-
ourselves are multiple.
Yeah.
Tom Harper said this. I shouldn't say his name, I guess, because I don't know if I have permission, but I think I know Tom. And maybe I don't. I don't know. Anyway, he's always making comments in that particular group. He says, this sounds as bad as Darwin's theory of evolution, that everything was created from nothing. What is a cryptid? What did it come from? Do they have human DNA? Do they have canine DNA? But what processes were they modified? And by created, by obviously mean genetically modified and engineered, as man creates nothing. In that human beings are spiritual beings confined to a physical shell, how can you be so sure that the spirit is not infiltrated by something foreign which causes a physical manifestation. The point I'm making is that we don't know. All we perceive is that they exist. We have to stop insisting on what they are because we don't know.
Exactly. And it's all right to question what they are. That's the whole point of that's everybody's job in the if you're a part of the supernatural community, is to question it, but don't deny another person's perspective and story just because it doesn't align with your point of view or what you believe or with your answers. I mean, that just means that if your answers aren't lining up to this question, that means that your questions aren't correct. Start asking some new questions. That maybe if you ask new questions and still bring and end up at the same answers, that means you had the right questions. I mean, it's a simple. It seems pretty simple to me.
And then Kevin, he says here, thank you. Someone finally said it. I mean, it's pretty obvious that actual shape-shifting people only exist in the movies. I disagree. But he says, plus, ancient explorers have already confirmed these creatures are a completely different species and are not shape-shifting humans whatsoever. They even spoke of their habitat and general nature, which was very cruel and brutal to all species, including their own. And then this person, which I agree with, says, I wouldn't even say they are cryptids. And then this person says, not all of them. There are a range of species that fall under the generic banner. And then this person says, now that I'm reading some opinions on this post, I'm confused. I thought a werewolf was a dogman. What is the difference? I really thought they were the same. If I would see a dogman, I would think it is a werewolf or vice versa. Exactly. Exactly, because in my hometown, people are like, werewolf, werewolf. Nobody's calling it a dogman. Nobody knows what that is.
I saw a comment that was trying to differentiate the three, but it's like it's hard to say if that's even true. You can't prove that anyway. Where it says dogmen have the backward bent legs, skinwalkers have no. I said
that's not true.
And it's like that's not true. I mean, it's hard to prove that anyway. So
Yeah.
you can't say that.
Well, the Choctaw tribal police officer that we taught that said he saw one by the pawn shop. And he said this and Scorpion were there, and it was. He was very adamant that this thing, and then his great uncle said, I saw you over by the pawn shop, on that day, whatever. And he was like, no, you didn't. And he was like, he remembers seeing a werewolf-looking creature.
Yeah.
He was convinced that was his great uncle, who he suspected was a medicine man who had done bad things. And he described this creature as a straight up backward bent legs, everything. Anyways, so there you go. If that was a werewolf, then it had the backward bent legs for sure. But here it says here, this person says, totally agree. Can't tell you where they come from. Maybe from another reality. Maybe DNA experiment gone wrong or something else. So far, I haven't found where all the cryptids are from. And then this person says they may have been here longer than or as long as us humans. They don't like us. And they want to be left alone. We are just another predator in their eyes, and they will kill to survive or even when they feel threatened. I don't agree with that person's assessment because that's putting them in some sort of category of like you're humanizing them in a way that I don't believe that they are. And then this person says, cryptic is some creatures that humans believe that they exist but unknown because of enough proofs. This person's just hard to understand. I know what they're trying to say. DNA and hard to trace and not named and may not be belonging to the world but somehow exist in Rome. They are not tales or plain legends. They exist somewhere we don't know. They are curious about us just like we're curious about them. And they may feel a threat to invade their areas. How many of them there are that we don't know, blah, blah, blah. I think this person's English is really good. But I get what they're trying to say. It says, I suspect some of you have forgotten chupacabra. They are found like dogs in some kind of sickness and have developed the claws that look scary. Dogmen or werewolves. He's talking about a blue dog. And then werewolves fall into the category of bloodlines of canines and wolves and ancestors of dogs, especially dire wolf, the prehistoric wolf that looks like today's wolves. But we know now that that's not correct because the dire wolf is not really a wolf. It's not, And so you get the comments that just keep going on and on and on. And, we just just keeps going. And this person says, has there been proven what Dogman is? There's no evidence what Dogman are. People go by what they think. They are even researchers, scientists, books. Authors, government, and even hunters, broadcast, none of them knows. We all need to try to figure out, find out, seek out what are Dogman. We must share our theories and what we think, what they are with proven facts. We don't know they are cryptids either or for a fact. No one's that have seen them change from humans to dog or werewolf. And I disagree with that. People have. Or skinwalkers or by hands of scientists by hybrids. Until then, someone knows for a fact. We will all continue to think with our theories and that's okay because we share info among each other. I'm sure enough some will come up with proven facts what Dogmen are. Until then, we can all learn from each other. And I liked that comment, and I went on and on. Anyway, that's it, folks. You know, there was more to it. But in a nutshell, that was that thread, and I thought this is going to be a show. We're going to talk about this. We're going to figure it out as best we can, which here we are back to square one.
Where we don't know anything.
If we came back, what is today, November 16th, 15th?
It is
The 15th.
So let's fast forward a year from now, and we said, here we are, same time next year, November 15th, 2023. We would probably still not be any closer to solving the riddle of what this thing is. I can tell you what it is not. It is not fiction. It's real. I have seen one, but I don't know whether or not it's a dogman or a werewolf. I would like to see a transformation to prove that my theory has merit, that it is real, what I believe. Until then, we're all just drinking crazy water.
I mean,
taking crazy pills.
Crazy pills. So that's going to do it, folks. I'm going to cut it out of here. Get the freaking lid on.
more importantly, though, don't forget Shasta.
Delicious and nutritious. Let me get is the label out?
Shasta.
Nothing
Dogman
like it.
won't kill
Nothing
you.
like it.
Shasta will.
Refreshing, delicious.
I hope that's their new car.
I don't know about nutritious, but I'm willing to
Well, they
bypass
feed it to
nutrition
the San
for taste.
Antonio animals. It has
No,
to be
no,
nutritious.
no. We're Americans. Sugar and carbonation is nutrition.
Sugar, salt, and fat are
Yeah.
the staples of our diet. In fact,
Yeah.
that's our food pyramid. Those are the three levels.
Yeah, we got to
Sugar's
get
at the top.
fat and stupid and useless.
It's got to be that. It's sugar at the top, and then fat and salt because they all lead to each other, so it doesn't matter.
In one hand, a regular Shasta. In the
Anytime
other,
I go to a fast food place and order something, I make sure that I make them give me salt packets, so that I can make my food more fatty, more water holding water.
Sugar too, because I'm 8 years old,
Yeah.
and I eat dessert and like sweets.
Gosh,
yeah,
you guys
I
are
put them in
gross.
my pocket.
I'm not 31 years old.
I just asked them
I'm
to give me
8.
whatever's in the grease trap.
love
I like
sugar.
that. That's my favorite.
I hear that dogmen like that, but not werewolves. Now, one way to tell that it's a dogman and not a werewolf is by the knock. Now, here, I will explain to you folks. We figured this part out right here. This is how a werewolf knocks. Yeah. One more time. Now you know that that's a werewolf. A dogman knocks like this. You got it?
Yeah, and there's also a distinct difference between the smell of a dogman fart and a werewolf fart.
Yes.
And see, if you were smart,
One smells
you'd
like
know that.
meat and rotting
were experts,
garbage, and
if
the other
you're-
one smells like beans.
yeah, if you were experts like us, you'd have a finely tuned nose for cryptid flatulence.
Well, like Joey says here, because you have to be really careful, is that you can't really watch Dogman take a dump either because you might get pink eye. So it's,
Oh,
it's
wait,
one of those
hold on,
things
guys.
that's.
We're
Oh,
getting a call.
oh no.
Hold on. Yeah. Hello? Oh, you are a werewolf. Hold on one second. Let me see if I can patch you through on the... Hello? Oh, you must have a bad connection. Oh, you're trying to trick me. You're a dog man. Not a werewolf. That was a dog man the whole time. You could tell.
Obviously.
Because dog men can't, they can't accentuate their words correctly. When a dog man tries to talk, like say the dog man says, I want to order a pizza, it's like, that's how it sounds. When a werewolf does it, it's like, yes, hello. Is this Domino's? Well, I want to order a pizza, but not from you. And then they hang up because they want a delicious pizza. Somewhere
They also
like,
prefer diet Shasta.
Yeah,
instead of the
exactly.
regular
Oh.
stuff.
so if and also you see a werewolf, he's obviously his hair is going to be perfect. That's one thing that werewolves are always very concerned about their hair,
Yeah.
Well, they can only-
manicured beards. They're very
a
particular about
werewolf
how
is
they
in
look.
touch with his feminine side.
Well, I was gonna say.
I don't know about that.
I don't know about that because the real reason I found out was actually because they can only go out on the full moon. That means they have to look their best on those times.
Okay, I will have you know that they can go out anytime they want,
Well, I have many Dogman werewolf
and
friends
it's
too.
just that on the full moon they have a little extra hair.
Thank you, Paul Deal, for the $20.
That's it. So, get another call. Here it goes. Let's see here.
Uh-oh.
Okay, let me put it on speaker. And in conclusion, being a werewolf, I would have to say that you cannot see my tail because I tuck it in my pants. And I wear nice clothes. In particular, camouflage shirts with nice necklaces that have shark tooth. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. It's true.
Well, this is PRT with our last show, I guess.
Trying to turn into a werewolf, folks, and it's not happening.
Nope. I thought it was happening. I thought we were all going to die here. I thought this
Prank
was our
caller.
last show.
Jeez. Get out of here. All right, folks. So it didn't happen. I didn't change into a vicious beast with a taste for steak tartare. But maybe one day we will figure out what these creatures are, and maybe not. But until then, keep listening to Paranormal Roundtable. Keep watching our videos. Like and subscribe. Tell me what you think. What is going on here, folks? Don't forget, we have 2 people we're going to pick from the audience, those that have been with us till the end here, and we're going to see who we got. So I will let Anthony pick one from the audience, and then Tony, you can pick one.
I'm going to let Alex pick one. I picked the last one, I think,
Alec, you want to pick one?
on the Halloween show. Yeah, just choose a name. Man.
Have we picked Dumpster Diving Dogman before? Because he's got a cool screen name.
He's also been a fan for quite a
He
bit.
said Halloween is over. He's being insulting. No, I don't think it's a
No,
good
I don't
idea.
think-
Don't tell me that.
We don't believe in that. I identify as Halloween, so I can't really be over.
We're Jehovah's Witness. Halloween never started for us.
Exactly.
Pagan.
We are also
Heathen.
interstellar galactic travelers from the edges of whatever. What's it called? Experience.
Yeah.
From the edges of experience.
Explorers from the further regions of experience.
Angels to some, demons to others. It says here,
Oh,
I
they
think
made a new one
teleporting or
of those, I
disappearing
think.
cryptids have the
Yeah.
ability, just like ghosts or spirits, when they enter this place. That's a very good comment there.
They better keep that line.
I like that. Dominic Espinoza, he's got a good comment. What do you guys think of that? Somebody, come on now. We got to do it. Mamie J. Hall says, Shasta! There's a good comment. Like, Josh, can you tell us more about the Waco werewolf story? Do you know about that Waco? I don't have time today to get into that. Jordan Cogburn, you've already won. I'm going to give you your stuff. I'm just
Choose a name.
now that I got your size. But we got to pick somebody, and we got to go.
Did you choose already, Anthony?
King
Yeah, I
of
chose.
Waco Mundo.
Dumpster Diving Dogman is the
Yeah.
first one.
Okay.
And then
We're just
Alec,
waiting on
did you
Alec.
choose anybody?
I think Dumpster Diving Dogman's actually won before.
Yeah, has he?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What about Anunnaki, bro?
I don't know. Anunnaki Bro, have you won?
Sugar Britches has been picked before, right? Because she's always here. She, he. I'm actually not
It's
sure.
a she.
but-
Yeah, see, Dumpster Diving Dogman says I have a red
Yeah, he has
PRT
a-
hoodie.
Okay.
You can't beat that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes,
those
and I
red ones
sent
are
you
really
a
good.
pot holder that was made by a woman in Liberty Hill, and I was accused of that pot holder being some cheap thing from Dollar General. No, it was not.
Sugar, have you won yet?
I think so. I think Sugar Britches is one, but ask.
I mean, which was
Yeah, we're just waiting on the response.
Okay, Jen says, we love your show. We watch it all the time, my boyfriend and I. We have not won. What about that one?
want to choose that one, Alec?
I mean, that's what
There
you.
you go.
It's up
It's
to
just
you.
your choice. I mean,
She says, I've never been picked, Candy picked, whatever.
her and her boyfriend watch it.
Her and her boyfriend watch a show. And then Dumpster Diving Dogman says, oh, you bought it. Okay.
Oh, you didn't win.
So have you not won Dumpster Diving Dogman?
I'm guessing he hasn't because he bought it.
Aaron Shaw says, I love cheap stuff. Dude, this is not cheap stuff. Okay. these hoodies are about $40 a pop, okay, and the shirts are like 25, 30. Our price wasn't. We don't. There's a very small profit margin there, and we also give away. Whoever wins always gets an autographed book. We always give you a good amount of stuff. Remember, if you join the Patreon, we can continue this discussion next week, as we're going to try and get it going by this coming weekend. And we're going to talk some more about this subject. We're going to get into some things. Patreon.com/PRT podcast. Join Patreon. You get a $20 tier, you automatically get a swag bag. And then if you pick the $10 tier, then after 3 months, you'll get a swag bag. So be a $20 tier Patreon member, and you will be rewarded.
I was going to say Dumpster Diving Dogman has not won, and then Sugar has won, so I say we give it to Dumpster.
And yeah, let's say Dumpster Diving Dogman and Jen.
Let's do Dumpster Diving Dogman and Jen.
And then, yeah, Jen says we don't go on chat because we're awkward socially. Laugh out loud. Okay, that's fine with me.
Sounds
you
good.
don't have to be, to be. So those are the two winners. Give me your information. Send it to Josh Turner at prtpodcast.com, Josh Turner at prtpodcast.com. And if you have a story to send, then send it to me. We get lots of them. Lots of them. I'm going to be doing a project. I'm still trying to get it together as far as the alien abduction shows. That will probably be coming out at the end of the year or starting in late December, because I have to be working on my book. I also need to get in touch with Albert Rosales, Nick Redford, and Daniel Jones so we can coordinate all this and get it done. We're going to be doing some interviews of some people who are alien abductees. And I'm still doing my deep dive on the Middle East, which I had some updates on about that. But I don't have time today to talk about it, so we're about to get out of here. Nellie's going to want me to go. I got things I got to do. And I don't want to anger her. You gotta, and we're gonna get into some other stuff, Comanche and Apache legends and other things we're gonna be talking, guys. So, Tom Harper just messaged me. Yeah, so we are friends. Okay, I was going like I thought I knew Tom. I wasn't 100%. And I'm going to leave with this one. Dominic Espinoza says, just a theory. I still think some are physical all the time in some cases, but most have more supernatural aspects. That's very possible. Okay, guys, that's going to do it for me, for Alec, our man over here. There's no way to show him on the camera, I guess. No way to.
We could turn the camera to him.
You could turn the camera and show off Alec.
Or you could come over
he wants
here.
to hide. And then we have Anthony, who helps with the sound and also has been sitting in. And then we got Tony. So everybody, Amy says, never got a shirt and love a hoodie. Amy, if you've never gotten a shirt, send me your address and maybe we'll make it happen if we have your size. Because Amy, you are in the chat every week, unlike some people who just come when they feel like it. You should be here. Okay? You should shirk all responsibility to tune in. Okay? That's how cult works.
Yeah, forget about your kids.
I got to have my cult. Gotta have my cult members. Please don't do that. Do not do this, man. Just your kids are more important to this show. Don't ever.
Don't listen to this false prophet. He's
because if I were to say even if it's a
Defeatist.
joke, they're gonna be like, I left my kid on the roof of my car. And it's all Josh Turner's fault because he said to forget about everything.
Look, we'll never
Court of
forgive
law will be
you.
like guilty.
Well, the law will never forgive you unless you say it was for Shasta.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
And
I
don't
did it
forget,
for the Shasta.
Did it for the Shasta folks.
When in doubt, Shasta it out.
All right, that's the official drink of PRT and Ken Gerhard and the Chupacabras, everybody, Dogman, Bigfoot. And good night, folks. We'll see you.